All right, all right, all right. Here we are, my friends, episode 28 with my good friend Kilgore Troutlands, who's just kind of man. He's came into the streaming scene with a mission, man, and I've really enjoyed your streams, your artwork, everything in between, and just really getting to know you, man. You've helped me out a lot with. I've been trying to do like a month, every month and a half or so, like giveaways, like events. You know what I mean? And you were just like, "Hey, man, can I redo your shitty flyer for you?" I'm like, "Yeah, man, let's do it." But man, tell us just a little bit about yourself, my friend.
Well, first off, thanks for having me. Like this is awesome. Kilgore Trout, as most people know me. So I'm one of the players that's been around for a long time. I took some breaks, but joined Outlands kind of at the beginning. Joined UO in general back in the Renaissance days. Um, I've always been a big gamer. You know, I'm in software engineering. I've been writing programs since probably I'm gonna age myself a little bit here. 2003, I think, is when I started software engineering professionally. Um, I've been a graphic designer. I'm an amateur photographer. I'm surprisingly good at foosball. And got an awesome family, father of an insane 12-year-old who actually it was really cool when we were watching your stream together and you said hi to me and I was like, oh yeah, Kilgore Jr.'s here, and you gave him a big shout out and all the people in chat are like, hey, Kilgore Jr. and stuff. And, oh, he loved it. He thought it was the coolest thing in the world.
That's fun. I do like it when people are like, "Hey, so and so's here, say hi," and then I do. It's fun, man. It's like it's a cool thing. But so, with the does he play games with you, or is
Sort of.
yeah?
Yeah,
What
we
games
played
does he play?
Factorio together.
Okay,
Um, and he's way better at it than I am.
yeah,
But I try to get my green science, my red science flowing immediately. But he's really big into Roblox. So
yeah,
when he was younger, we played Roblox together a bit.
yeah.
I tried to get him into World of Warcraft when he was younger, and he just liked playing my characters. That's so that didn't really get too far. But we do lots of stuff together, and it goes beyond gaming and stuff.
Sure.
Like we're both really into remote control cars together and stuff. And
Oh, the
oh yeah,
RC cars, like with the good ones that like with
oh
the
yeah.
dirt ramps and trail, dude. There was this place by where I lived, and man, it was an indoor track, and I will
Mhm.
never forget it, man, because it was he would change the dirt around, and because it was real easy to just move the dirt and make different ramps and all that, and man, these cars, RC cars, would go so fast, and it was really fun watching
Mhm.
people, just with the little wheel on there, turning it, and and all that stuff. And man, some of them get going real high on the jumps and fast,
Oh
and
yeah.
uh, some expensive ones too, man.
Yeah,
A
they're not
couple hundred
cheap.
bucks. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, they're not cheap at all. I've got the two that I use the most. One is an Arma Kraton, which is a monster truck,
yeah,
and that one you see people taking those off skate ramps, launching them 20 feet into the air and
y-
doing flips and stuff.
yeah,
Um, I'm not quite that brave, but I have like run mine off dirt mounds
yeah.
and like stairs and stuff. And I also have an Arma Infraction, and it's like a road car, but it's so fast I can't control it. Like on full speed, it can get up to about 70 miles an hour.
Oh my god, dude! How big is
Yeah,
it? Like,
it's an eighth scale, so it's probably about maybe 2.5 feet long.
okay, yeah, yeah, man, that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's like a missile.
Oh yeah, totally. But you know what
That
it got me into? And this is kind of like I guess this is kind of like organic from having a graphics background.
yeah,
Is so I had never used an airbrush before in my life.
okay.
I knew airbrushes is like the thing at the street show where they painted on your sweatshirt and like made unicorns and shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So um so I joined the Arma community for RC car enthusiasts on Facebook. And I saw a lot of people had custom bodies. And I was like, I want to do that. I can do that, right? So I bought a shell. There's an RC store about 10 minutes from here, which is awesome. So I bought an empty body shell, and I got a little starter airbrush, a little starter air pump and stuff. And I did and it looked so bad. It was a Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy theme.
Okay.
Um, the only part that looked good was like the logo and the wording, but the actual painting of the thing, because I had to hand paint a few parts,
Yeah.
looks terrible. But it was the first one I ever did, so it's my favorite.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, the first thing you do is always get, I mean, not always. Sometimes people are just prodigies at things that they go and do, creatively, and it's like, wow, that was your first time. But most of the time, it's gonna be pretty bad,
oh
So
yeah.
yeah, but that's cool, man. That's cool. And so was that one that you would take and race and things like that? And
Yeah, that was well, I've done them for the Creighton, I've done them for the infraction, I've done them for my RC10 and my son's Traxxas, whatever it is, Stampede.
yeah,
So I've done a bunch for all the cars here. A couple of them I really like. Most of them I hate and don't use.
yeah,
And I've thrown a couple of weeks. I hate them so much. But but getting into learning how to mask and stuff, it's funny because there are so many skills that transferred over from like Photoshop knowledge.
yeah.
But learning how to reverse mask, because it's RC cars, you have to paint on the inside, not the outside.
Really?
Um,
Okay.
so you think about masking completely in the other direction. And I even got like a vinyl cutter so that it was a Cameo, I think. It wasn't a Cricut. But so what I was doing was I was designing these masks in Illustrator, and transferring them over to the bodies and then painting on them, then all that stuff. And I also got really innovative with masking tape a few times and felt like I was breaking rules with masking tape, but but it's a good time. I really enjoyed doing that.
Yeah.
It's great for the spring. Sucks during the summer, but great for the spring.
Right, right. And so that just kind of was your first creative outlet, and it just kind of transpired into, like Photoshop and things like that. Just wanting to be creative, I guess.
It kind of went in the other direction. I
Okay.
mean, the RC cars, that was actually the painting the bodies was just a couple years ago.
Oh, okay.
But I got my first copy of Photoshop in 1998. I think that was Photoshop 3 or Photoshop 4.
Yeah.
But it might have been 97. I was a sophomore in college at the time. Um, and I got a copy of Photoshop that I totally acquired legitimately.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
as we all do.
yeah, yeah,
But but uh but anyway, so I started out just wanting to like, make funny pictures of my friends, like, oh, I figure out how to cut your face off and put it
yeah,
on this,
yeah. Your OG
and your
meme
eyeball
horde.
is a dog's asshole, and
Yeah, yeah,
just having fun with it.
yeah,
Um, and then I started doing tutorials. You know, First it was just like whatever I could find, because it was the early days of the internet, and it
yeah,
was even the early days of Web 2.0. So all the buttons were glass. So I had to learn how to make glass buttons.
yeah,
And all the graphics, everything was skeuomorphic. So it looked very real. Like you know how on the original iPhone, it was like all the graphics on the buttons were almost like they weren't 3D, but they were close to it, and they tried to make things look
yeah,
as real as they could.
yep,
So yeah, that's skeuomorphic design.
yeah,
Um, and that's actually the style that I work with skins the most of the time. Anyway, like thinking about like the one that I did for the orcs. That was like with the orc coming down over the top, and the kind of step ladder of bones on the side and stuff like that. All of that is supposed to have dimension. All that is supposed to feel like it's coming out at you.
yeah.
And so that's kind of like more of like the skeuomorphic thing. But there's also, I go in a couple of different directions with it. Um, I don't know if you saw. I think I might have sent it to you, but I was working on a Saved by the Bell theme yesterday
Okay.
from the TV show.
Yeah, yeah,
So it's got all that awesome like 80s artwork with like all the geometric shapes and stuff. It's like
yep,
called Memphis style. Um, and Bayside High across the top, and then Zach loves Kelly and all that. I got
yeah,
really into it. But that one is I'm kind of stepping away from the skeuomorphic thing with that one because it just doesn't match the style of the piece.
Sure, it's an older. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and those of you that don't know, Mr. Kilgore here, he actually runs a website called KilgoreTroutlands.com, and he makes paper dolls, custom bag art, things like that. He's got some like stock ones, but then he also does custom ones. So, and I say this quite a bit on the streams, but if me as a guild leader, um, I want to do something a little extra that sets my guild apart from another one. I'm not a guild leader, but this is just me in
Mhm.
theory as if I was. But, so what I can do is reach out to him and be like, hey, here's my guild. This is what we're about. This is what we do. These are some of the cool things that our guild likes and we talk about a lot. Can you make us a paper doll and a bag art and all that stuff? And he'll be like, yeah, sure. And it's you'll pay him, right? And then the cool thing is he does this all on stream, and so you can watch as he's making it, right? And be like, I like this, I don't like that. Hey,
Mhm.
instead of that graphic, what about something more like this graphic? It's a really very custom, and also, I mean, you're kind of in control of the creative process as well as he is. If you just are like, dude, this is what I like, just come up with something, send me when you're done. He'll do that too. I mean, that's pretty
Yep.
much what he did for mine. I've just always been like, yeah, dude, this is you watch my streams, you know what's up. And then next thing you know, he sent me this beautiful thing, and I was just like, oh my god, it's my dogs, and my dogs are up on it, and I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. But he does that, and for players on Ultima Online Outlands, I would imagine it would work on other servers. Maybe, I don't know. The item numbers might be different, huh?
Well, the item numbers are going to be the same
Okay.
because for almost everything,
Yeah.
because Outlands they've reserved some item numbers that aren't used for typical things for their own stuff.
Okay.
Um, because like for example, like I don't know, one of the new, the open robe, for example, that doesn't have an item number. It has an item number in the context of Outlands, but not like in the context of the original UO Classic client. So basically, what I do, what to get these item numbers, and this is no secret. I tell people this all the time. Is I get a fresh copy of UO Classic client, not the Outlands client, like a off the shelf one. Um, you know, uh, I take that and I take a free program called UO Fiddler.
Yep.
I point Fiddler at the client that I just downloaded, and you can't do this with the Outlands client because everything's all encrypted and stuff, and
Yeah.
it's against the all the agreements and stuff anyway. Um, but so I'm able to look up like, okay, well, I want to do the backpack icon, like the one where you minimize your backpack. So I go through there, and it's not the only sorting is by item number, so it's completely useless. So you have to go through the whole list of hundreds of these things just to
Yeah.
find what you're looking for. And the more common ones tend to be at the beginning, the less common ones tend to be at the end, um, but off of those, you get your item number in decimal and hexadecimal, and the hex numbers are the ones that we use. Um, those are all that like 0x70, which is the main paper doll.
Yep.
And so what I do is I just figure those out, and I figure out the ones that I want. You can export the original graphic directly from UO Fiddler. I pull that into Photoshop, figure out what I want to do with it. That's how you get the size. Um, and once it's in Photoshop, once I have the size, and from there, it's really the idea. And there's one more thing beyond that. So some of these graphics, like the main paper doll, for example, the main paper doll, outside of the aspect icon at the top, you can't go further up than that. You can go a few pixels further up. You cannot go to the left at all. Like, that left boundary is where the graphic stops.
Yeah.
But if you want to increase stuff to the right or down, you can, which is how I've made some of the ones I've done for you extra long so they can get all the event information.
Yeah.
And I've
I
also
think, and I could be wrong here, but I feel like the UO map itself, they have that same thing where they can go down forever, but they can't go left or up. It's something like that. There's some,
Mhm.
and I could be off there, but I wonder if that's just like kind of hard coded into Ultimate images of like, hey, you can't go left or up or whatever. I don't know. I don't know. But anyways,
It's it could be. I mean, like for example, the backpack, just
yeah,
your little backpack icon
yeah,
that's by your foot. That graphic can be almost the same size as the paper doll, and it'll still
yeah,
work. It'll cover up everything, but
sure,
so you have a lot of wiggle room,
okay,
a lot
yeah.
more wiggle room than it might seem like you do.
Yeah. Yeah. I like some of those, like, I've seen, Ganthrones, the USMC
Mm.
backpack, and the gargoyle. Somebody had the gargoyle on theirs.
Oh yeah, the gothic one. I love that one.
Yeah, that one was really cool. I mean, because that was, I mean, it looked in front of, and it had a lot of depth in there, and um, I I've really enjoyed, watching these grow and get more and more detailed without getting overdone.
Yeah.
Like overdone with just way too much shit on there, and it's just like wild. But it's just what you're doing has gotten more precise, more detail, and I don't know. They just get better every time. Even the text, and what I like is watching you do these because as I make thumbnails, I make flyers for some events, and then you end up redoing them for me. But anyways, I use this, and then it's kind of funny because
Yeah.
that skill has kind of helped me at work some as well. It's like, well, hey, I'll just make a flyer for this, and then we can do this, and they're like, oh, great idea. You know what I mean? But I like watching you because you're like, huh, I could do this. And I'm looking at your text or what you're doing, and I'm like, this looks great. This is it. This is the end result. And then it's like you add like little minute details to it, and it looks 10 times better than what I would have been like, all right, we're done, and it's really cool to watch that creative process, I guess you could say, when you
Oh,
stream
thanks,
that on
man.
Twitch. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I try really hard to try to push myself on everyone I do. I could probably go through and find something in each one that I did for the first time. Um, like that gargoyle, for example. That one I did like 3 or 4 skins ago. It's a very recent one. But that's the first time I did one where the gargoyle, like if you look, one of the wings goes over his leg.
yeah.
And so the gargoyle takes more dimension than just that little spot. So that's like seeing if I could get the backpack to go a little bit further. I did a few skins where the background is basically flat and it's an optical illusion that makes it look like the character's standing in front of it. Um, that was tough to pull off, but once I figured out how to do it, I love the look of that one. But there's one problem with it. There's one problem with all the paper dolls, and it's not something that I have control over. So, imagine right now, see, I've got a dark headset on. So imagine I'm in the paper doll, right? And you've gotten one of mine, you've gotten one of the ones that has a detailed inner background. You look and then you see this blob of black going around my head because of my
Yep.
headphone because I have my headphones equipped and my headphones are masked that way in the original UO client.
Yeah.
So or like, if this jacket might have a little bit of a halo around it.
Yeah.
And the only thing that I can really do about that is try and make these backgrounds either almost black, because UO black and true black are two different colors. UO black is actually extremely dark blue. Um, and true black it interprets as transparent. Um, but you know, um, yeah, kind of losing track of where
Yeah, you can't really do anything. I have noticed how that the black is kind of
yeah,
dark blue, and the transparent thing, which I can definitely see because I can remember being on this with the big business, and we talked about how cool it would be to have like custom paper doll backgrounds,
mhm.
and I just was like, why haven't they ever done anything like that? That's something I drop 25 prep for. You know what I mean? Like, and You know, I guess that would make sense with that because you know I have seen that little halo like your headphones that you're talking about
Yeah.
that's in there. So you know that is interesting. I mean, that was going to be a question I had for you was changing said background, but I guess that is why it makes it very difficult to do and make
Yeah,
it look.
because some people just ignore it and like the rest of the background. Some people it bothers the hell out of.
Sure.
And someone just came to me the other day and they're like, "Listen, I don't know about this blob behind my head."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Listen, I can take out the background. I can make it even darker so you don't notice it as much, but
Yeah.
outside of that, actually, if you wear like standard UO clothes, like not any of the cool Outland strip, but like
Yeah.
standard UO clothes, some of that I can fix.
Yeah.
Um, but all the extra Outland stuff that I mean, all of that is deep within encrypted files, and I'm not going to try to get in there. I don't want to
Yeah.
risk my account.
Yeah. You hear that, Owen? He's not doing any of it.
Yeah,
It's,
I'm not doing any of that. Please, I promise.
that's how it goes. So, what? I mean, let's back up a little bit, and we'll come back to this. But what? I mean, what got you into gaming? Like, what are some of the early games that you ever played? And you know, what was the first controller you held? You know what I mean?
Okay, so the first controller I held was the controller for the Atari 2600.
Okay.
Um, this was probably 83 or 84.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I'm old as hell. But yeah, it was like 82 or yeah, and I remember playing like God, Pitfall. I was like, what is it called? Oh yeah, Pitfall. Played Pitfall for probably I might have even put more time into Pitfall than I put into UO because I thought you could win it. But but games like Breakout and Asteroids and
Yeah.
stuff. I love those games on the 2600, and you know from there we got a TRS-80 computer,
Okay.
TRS Candy Radio Shack, and on that one I remember this is my first solid gaming memory. That's like I remember playing the lemonade stand game. It was a math game because I was like in elementary school.
Uh huh.
Um, but I remember playing the lemonade stand game a lot on the TRS-80. But once we got the Apple IIc, after that, everything changed because the Apple kicked the crap out of the TRS-80.
Sure.
I mean, not performance wise, but I mean, I don't remember performance wise, but the graphics and the amount of software available for it,
Yeah.
you know, um, before we moved to PC clones a couple years later, that's what we had, and it was awesome. And that was when I got into some of the text-based games. I mentioned earlier Infocom games. So
Yeah.
Infocom was a company. Now, keep in mind, graphic games weren't great, and you had your monitor was either amber and black or green and black,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's what you had.
They were all
Or some
like
people had,
text, right? It was all the graphics were
yeah,
text, like slashes and colons and
no, not even that.
not even
It
that.
was just descriptions.
Oh,
It was like you walk into the damp cellar and
okay,
there's a
text games. Yeah,
sword on the ground in a pool
yeah,
of blood. What do
yeah,
you do? And it's like pick up sword, go east.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, and it was stuff like that. And God, there were so many. Zork was probably their most well-known title. They did like 5 Zork games. Wishbringer was awesome. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy game. See
Sure.
that's a recurring theme
For you,
because
yeah, yeah.
I'm obsessed with the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy since I was a
Okay,
kid. I love those books. Um, but yeah, I played the crap out of those games and I absolutely loved them. And you know, you never really thought about the fact that there were no graphics because you know, you just that's what the arcade machines at the mall were for,
yeah,
you know. um, so you know, but the early systems, I loved those early systems and the early PCXT clones. Um, you know, the original Nintendo, like
yeah.
arguing with my sister about who got to be Mario and who got to be Luigi, and
Oh,
she's
that's
older, so
funny.
I always ended up being Luigi.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, man, and I was thinking about this. I was thinking about, like, games from the days of yore and stuff, and one thing that makes me a little sad is, like, my son, who, I think I mentioned he's 12 now, he'll never understand what it was like to walk into an arcade
Yeah,
and just, like, you hear, like, electronic mayhem in every direction and the sounds of quarters falling, and, you know, it was just like, and then you'd walk up to the Star Wars game, and I don't know if you played the old Star Wars arcade game, but all the graphics were just lines and shit, and, like, your missiles were multicolored asterisks, and this was a full-size giant arcade machine. Um, but I would go broke on that thing.
sure.
I and
So
then,
I
many years
I
later, a friend of mine bought one,
I
so I got to go
played
over there.
in an arcade. There's this one. It's still open today, but it was called Cactus Jacks, and
Mhm.
I would always ask my dad like, "Hey, let's go to Cactus Jacks." Like that was what I wanted to do all the time, and I kind of missed the whole arcade craze of like I guess it was the late '80s, early '90s, I would
Yeah.
say. But I mean, that was about how. No, it might have been a little bit earlier, but anyways, that that was about when I would go to Cactus Jacks all the time, and I loved it, man. And I always wanted to play Gauntlet, and the Area 51 and
Yeah.
games like that. I loved that place. Like I said, it's still there today, but it's a lot different. You I see on movies and I see old like videos of when that was like the place to be. Like
Yeah.
all the kids went to the arcade on Friday night, and that was I would have loved to have been there for that. We'll just say that because that looked like hella fun, dude. And the game tournaments that would come from that, like, oh, we're all gonna play Galaga and the highest score wins. Like,
Mhm.
I was never there for that. That was probably dope as hell.
Oh, yeah, it was, and, like, I don't know if you saw the smash hit Minecraft movie, but, they show, Jason Momoa and, like, his glory days of being, like, an arcade game champion and stuff. It's like,
Sure.
yeah, that all that shit happened.
Yeah.
There were
Yeah.
these giant contests, like, huge tournaments at arcades, like, all the regional arcades and stuff.
Yeah.
It was a fun time. It was a fun time. I wish I was older through it, but that would mean I'm older now, which I don't want. Um,
See, I always say that I wish I was born now, just so I can see, like the next 40 years of where technology goes. You know what I mean? Like when I
yeah,
die, I want to still be living like at the same time though, you know, I saw the birth of the internet, not the ARPANET,
mhm,
the internet. I saw the birth of the iPhone. Now I'm seeing, AI really start to take off and things like that. Rewind a bit. My father ran a BBS. And so, like you were talking earlier about text based games and stuff, there you go. And we played a lot of Legend of the Red Dragon. I think one was called Extalis. Trade Wars was huge.
hell yeah, Trade
And
Wars.
I those games were like those were my real childhood was that right there. I would wait to get my turns for the next day and be like, "Oh, I can't wait. Got to do my turns. Got to do my turns." I just thought it was so cool, man. So cool.
Oh, dude, I loved playing doors on old BBSs. I ran a BBS when I was early in high school called
Yeah.
Vulgar Display of Power after the Pantera album,
Yeah, okay.
because I had, like, just gotten into metal back
Yeah.
then. But it was fun. Like, I had, oh god, it was I was such a nerd. I had, like, it was like all, like, you know text files of, like, hacking and freaking and stuff like that, and copies of, like, the anarchist cookbook that's full of dangerous stuff that's going to blow you up. um like, not on purpose though, not like you're going to make
Sure.
something and throw it at somebody. Like, while you're making it, it will explode on you.
Oh god.
um yeah. But you know it was a lot of fun back then. I was in that's actually where I started getting chatty with people too.
Yeah.
Because when I was younger, I was pretty reserved. And even now sometimes I'm a little reserved. But back then, like, I heard of a BBS called The Forest. And I'm like, oh, they don't have pirated games, they don't have hacking stuff. Oh, why would I go there? And so I went to check it out, thinking, oh, maybe they've got cool doors there. And you mentioned Trade Wars. Trade Wars 2002 was my jam. I loved Trade Wars. There's another one, The Pit, that I played too. But anyway, so I joined and I was like, chat rooms? What the hell is a chat room? I mean, obviously you know what a chat room is, but you go
Yeah,
in
back then.
and you're just like, wait, everybody's just talking. And it's not like the sysop pulled me into a call and we're typing to each other. This is like, and some of them are even girls. What is this madness? Um, so I stayed on there for a while. Ended up going to a lot of Memorial Day events with them.
Okay.
We all ended up knowing each other in real life. All
Yeah.
ended up at each other's houses and stuff, and running all over New Jersey at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I'd go to meetups with my dad sometimes at Bennigan's. It was always at Bennigan's.
that's oh, dude, I remember Bennigan's.
Yeah.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it was fun back then. I met a lot of people. Some of them I'm still friends with today,
Yeah.
um, from like back in those days. But yeah, that's where I kind of got used to talking to a lot of people, and that's where I feel like that's where a lot of my personality started to develop through that too.
Sure. Did some of those people? I mean, what ended up getting you into? Where did you first hear about UO? Was it from some of those people? Was that just through gaming or what?
No, it was through a friend of mine in college.
Okay.
She mentioned we were just talking about games, and she mentioned that she was playing this game called Ultima Online,
Yeah.
and I should. She was playing on the Baja server, so that's the first server I ever joined.
Okay.
And I made my little completely 100% forgettable Macer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and after a month, I moved to Atlantic and made my first character there, who was Kilgore Trout the Thief, first incarnation.
Okay. So where did Kilgore
And
Trout come from? Like where did you get that name?
so I'm a big fan of the writer Kurt Vonnegut.
Okay.
And Kilgore Trout is like his avatar in his books. And Kilgore Trout's a character in a lot of his books. And he's like this like failed sci-fi writer, half-assed philosopher who just kind of ends up in weird situations to guide people. But
Okay.
that's because Vonnegut looked at it as like he saw himself as Kilgore Trout. So when it came time for picking a name and stuff, that's the first thing that popped into my mind.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, yeah, I'm good with that. And so Kilgore Trout Incarnation 1 was born.
Yeah.
And since then, I've used that name in every game I've played.
That's great.
Um, every version of UO that I've played, I've had thieves named Kilgore Trout. I've got World of Warcraft, Anarchy Online. Anarchy Online was a long time ago. I
Oh
can't
man,
believe
yeah.
it's still going.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so I've just kind of always had that name. So now it's like, it's kind of funny. So this is, bear with me on this, and I swear this is not stoned talk because I'm not stoned. I promise, nothing today. But so sometimes I look at the philosophy of this game sometimes, and I think about like, okay, so right now, Outlands pulled this together. So does this count as playing UO? Because we're in the Outlands world right now.
Sure.
What about when I'm making a UI? Does that count? Or what about, you're laying in bed and you're thinking like, oh, you know what? I really do need 120 stealth. Does that count? And when that counts, who are you? Are you Pwnstarr or are you you? And because we're different versions of ourselves
Yeah.
in different contexts. Like, work you is different than Outlands you, which is different than hanging out with the girlfriend you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so you think about that and you think about how much time we spend playing this game and thinking about this game and, doing ancillary things about this game. And it's like, I thought about it one day, I was like, so am I Kilgore Trout more than I am me? And if so, does that switch which one me is?
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a
So,
it's like a what is it? DID? I don't know. What's the
oh
I don't
yeah,
know.
dissociative identity disorder, that thing.
That's it. Yeah, is that
Yeah.
us? Does everybody have a
Um,
little bit of that?
I think so. I think we
Yeah.
all do.
Yeah.
Maybe with a little more control over it, but yeah, I think we all
Yeah.
do.
I think I definitely, between editing, streaming, playing, thinking, and just talking in Discord.
Yeah.
I would say I'm Pwnstarr quite a bit.
Yeah.
Quite a bit. I'm Pwnstarr, which yeah, especially nowadays, man. It's easy to shoot, hang out on Discord no matter where
Hmm.
I'm at with my phone. You know what I mean? Like, I
Yeah.
can just there I am. I'm Pwnstarr, just hanging out in general. Yeah, that's a really interesting thought right there.
Yeah, I like to think about that a lot, like throughout the day, and like sometimes I'll just be like, okay, which me am I at the moment?
Yeah,
I'm at going to Lowe's me,
yeah,
or
yeah. Oh boy.
or it's just a funny thing to think about. I was telling people in CC about this guild that I'm in, and they're all like, "So you're really stoned right now, aren't you?" And they weren't wrong, but I had thought about this aside from that.
Well, yeah, but I was thinking about this when I was sober.
Yeah,
So,
right.
so when you started playing, you were like you said, a forgettable macer, such as myself. I was a forgettable swords person. I would
Mhm.
spend all my gold at the tailor shop, and I was too stupid to stick my dye tub and dyes in the bank and save it for later. So I'd always have to
Yeah.
buy a new dye tub and dyes, and I would die and lose all my mismatched armor that I begged from the bank to get.
Mhm.
And if I got 8,000 gold out in the forest of Vesper, shit, man, that was a great day for me, dude. If I gained,
Oh,
two
yeah.
points in swordsmanship, oh man, I'm gonna be, killing Ettins before the end of the week.
Oh, yeah.
I was terrible. But
Oh, yeah.
what kind of player were you, and how did your play style really evolve? I guess through that time on Renaissance in 3 years.
So I so originally I started at the very beginning of the Renaissance expansion. So I only ever knew the world with both Trammel and Felicia. Um, and it's funny, everybody pronounces that word different. Um,
I say Felucia, just like Regents, right? So it's funny
yeah.
because I'll say it differently on stream. I'll say Regents, Reagents, Felucia, Feluca. Fucking Ganthrone says Aegis or Aegis for Aegis. I'm like,
Mhm.
dude, you are going to hell for saying that. But that might be how people say it. I don't know. I say Aegis.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah. Anyway, sorry. Keep going. Yeah.
um, but yeah, so when I got into free shards, I started on UR. That was God, a long time ago, 8 or 9 years ago, maybe
So how do you
seven or eight
back
years
up?
ago.
How did you hear about free shards?
Well, I knew they existed
Yeah.
just from being generally in the UO community.
Hmm.
I knew they existed, but I never really checked one out before. And when I learned about UO Renaissance, I was like, okay, so it's everything I liked except no trammel, and it seems to get a decent population, so I'll try this one. Um, it It really was like that was the decision. It was I looked at a couple other ones. I knew this one had the reputation of being pay to win, and this one had a reputation of being abandoned by the devs. But UOR was still going and it was
Yeah.
going strong. So joined there, immediately made a thief named Kilgore Trout, who was a disarm thief. The disarm stealing outside of Outlands has always been my favorite.
Fun. It's fun. Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's one memory I have from back in the day in Atlantic where I was at the Buccaneers Den Moongate with a couple of people were just kind of gathered around. A couple of Moongate thieves, a couple of PvPers. Everybody's just like waiting to see who pops through. And this one guy just turns around and attacks me. And I had disarm on, so I immediately disarmed him. And I got away far enough, I was able to pull up his paper doll. And when he rearmed, last target, disarmed, stole. He rearmed again with another sword. And this happened 4 times before he was out of weapons, ran away.
That's great. That's great.
Because back then, unlike with the Outlands rule set, you could disarm and steal immediately.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, and the Outlands rule set, it's like once I disarm you, we both have to wait 5 seconds and then it's on. I can
Yeah.
steal or you can rearm.
Yeah. Most of the time,
Um,
you're gonna win that.
yeah, because half the time you don't know I disarmed you.
Yeah.
Like, people don't really notice that. They see the red text that they're being attacked, or better yet, they turn around and attack you first, get disarmed, which I'm sure we'll talk about thief builds at some point, but I've got a thief build that's just for that situation.
Yeah.
Um, but back on UR and back in the day, oh yeah, disarm thief was totally what I love to do.
Yeah.
You know, there's got on UR, there were a lot of kind of like, I don't want to say high end thieves. That's a way to put it, but like big names on the server who were thieves or griefers. And one of them, I didn't even realize it was him because he was on alt. But one of them, I chased into a fight, disarmed and stole an agapite axe, which on UOR was expensive. And I was so happy. I got the agapite axe. The guy catches up. He's like, "I'm a fellow bard," and me clueless. I'm like, "I'm not a bard. What are you talking about?" But
He,
we
he
ended
was
up
just
chit chatting
baiting
for a
you.
while.
He was just baiting you to get you to stop and talk with the I'm a fellow
No,
bard.
no,
Oh, okay.
he was really like, he even told me, he's like, "Yeah, keep it. I'll buy another one."
Okay.
That was a really good steal. You earned it.
Yeah.
Um, but that one sticks out in my mind a lot. Got town stealing there was fun. Raiding houses was fun.
Yeah.
Um, I uh, I ran with a couple of guys on UR who are all over here now, who actually dragged me kicking and screaming from UOR
Yeah.
to Outlands.
Yeah, that's how it
Um,
goes. It's how it goes, right?
um, and they kind of showed me the ropes here, let me like crash at someone's house and stuff, and
Yeah.
help me get established.
I
And that was in the first couple of months of Outlands. That was a long time ago.
I
My back
think
hurts thinking about how long ago it was.
it's pretty common, man, where it's like, somebody's playing, been playing Ultima for years and years, right? And they're on another server, whether that's whatever server, pick one.
Yeah.
And one person is like, you know what, I'm going to try Outlands. They try Outlands and they really enjoy it. And then they're
Mhm.
like telling their buddies, they're like, hey, man, this is legit. Like, it's actually what we keep hearing. You should come play. And then people are like, yeah, I don't want to, we're over here or whatever, which is great.
Yeah.
Like, I really just want people to play Ultima. But then it's like finally that one friend gets the rest of the group over there and they're all like, yeah, we're here, this is cool, you were right, and I just
Yeah.
I that same story is been said so many times and heard so many times of, yeah, he just kept saying it, and finally I made a character and I was like, oh wait, this is actually really cool. Okay, see you later, other server. That's just what happens, man. It is what it is. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I remember my very first time on Outlands. I logged in, I looked around, I walked around a little bit, and I was just like, yeah, no. And then I went back to UR. And this was like this was like the first week.
Yeah.
And I did not give it a chance at all whatsoever. It wasn't what I was used to, so I left.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going back over there. I'm going to be the Scourge of Skara Brae some more. I'm going to, um, I'm gonna really, and then a few months later, the guys that I ran with on UR, like O'Malley and Zell and Luther, like they're all like, "Yeah, Outlands, just come to Outlands and stay at my house. Come to Outlands, come to Outlands, come to
Yeah.
Outlands." And so I did, and it took a little bit getting used to, but obviously we've all fallen in love with the place.
Yeah.
Um, you know, bruises and scars and all. You know,
Yeah, I think for me, as a fellow thief, right, um, is I too I had a disarmed thief back on, it might have been UOR. I don't know, man. I've played a couple and I don't really remember all of them. Hybrid, who knows? But stealing was fun, right? But the chases and the interactions were not always few and far between, but they were. You know what I mean? It wasn't like you
yeah,
had a whole bunch of targets, right? And for me, the big thing on Outlands that I enjoy the most is the fact that, you know, I can go down into a dungeon and I can steal a water core, and it's not me just getting away from that one person. I'm gonna run past 20 other people that are going to
Yep.
see me gray, and they might jump in and kill me too. And that happens a lot, and it also doesn't happen a lot. But and then even through that, I can run down a hallway and steal 4 items from 4 different people. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I think that's fun. Also, the fact that there is more items to steal than just a disarmed thief, because back in the day, that was really the best thing you could do. Is I'm just going to disarm them and steal their weapon. That's the
Yeah.
most valuable thing they have on them, because all the magic items are unidentified anyways. I don't know what I'm stealing, and there isn't really much for rares in Ultima as a whole that you can use the stealing skill on
Yeah.
from somebody's bag as you see them out in the wild. Now, power scrolls, relics, things like that,
Hmm.
depending on the server, were a different story, but you knew where and when those were getting. And on UO Forever, did you ever play there?
No, I didn't.
So on UO Forever, like that was the money makers in that game. Was you do champ spawns, you do what were called RDAs, and power scrolls would drop and relics would drop. And so it was just like, oh, I would log in my thief. I would recall to every single champ spawn, and if a guild was doing a champ spawn, then I would log on my PVMer and act like I was just there helping out, doing the thing, throw some hills and what have you. And then I'd log on my other account, which was the thief, and I'd run my thief up there, and I'd just wait for the boss to die and play my little script and
Yep.
steal their power scrolls or relics, and that was fun, but it wasn't the same. You know what I mean? Like, this is
Yeah.
uh, Outlands stealing has been phenomenal for me. Just and fun, just raw fun. The chases, the fact, like, last night I got my ass kicked by Path. I mean, dude,
Uh,
they dominated me, bro. It was like used to they would role play. It's like, halt right there, red hand thief. Are you causing trouble today? And I role play some shit with them and either go on my way or say the wrong thing and they'd attack me. No, Path is different now, dude. They are just like, kill him instantly on site. And I'm like, these mother truckers, like they've gotten rid of all the role play aspect these days. But still, it's those interactions that I know that when I see those guys, that it's okay. I gotta instantly be on my P's and Q's and run or fight or whatever I'm gonna do. So
yeah, and I think that they path, but grander than them. Like I'm also including like the people who like role play
yeah,
cops and stuff. If they role play it, it's amazing and fun. Adds to the fun and
yeah,
everything. If they're
I
just
agree.
sitting outside the healer res killing you without saying a word,
Yeah,
that's boring.
yeah,
But the ones who like the streamer Beer Good, I can't remember. He's Tim Tool, I think.
okay,
Um, he always shouts all kinds of stuff at you. If you're just standing there, he'll be like there are times he's walked by and just like, "Yep, well, don't get into trouble."
yeah.
And
Boss shot.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely him. There's a new guy that I've seen as a cop. It's Raphael TMNT,
Okay.
and he's fun. He's all over the place, and he does not like me one bit. um, but the point is, though, what I'm getting at is like all this stuff adds flavor.
Yeah.
And if this was Trammel, no PKs, no ocean wars, no thieves, you know, I think it would get really boring for everyone, especially the people who complain about thieves and PKs,
Oh yeah.
because that extra element of danger, I think that adds so much into this feeling like a living, breathing world.
Uh huh.
World of Warcraft, it's cool that there are people around, but it just doesn't feel like a living, breathing world as much.
Yes. Yeah. I
At
I
least to
play
me.
Warcraft in like 3 month spurts, and it's a ton of fun. Don't get me wrong. I really enjoy World of Warcraft. It's
Yeah.
definitely, top 3 games for me. I love it. But after that 3 months is up, it's ish. I'm just like, all
Yeah.
right, it was fun, but you're 100% right, man. Running around, absolutely nothing to lose.
Yeah.
Even on PvP servers, I've played PvP servers. I've played private servers. I don't know why we call them private. They're never private. It's just you just
Yeah.
log in. But anyways, custom servers and even the PvP ones. It's like you die and you just run your body back, and there's no sense of I lost anything.
Yeah.
Here, that gives that. Now, I will say there are people that are just like, I just want a pure PVM experience. I want absolutely nothing to do with PvP. Sanctuary Dungeon is great for that.
Yep.
It's going to come at a cost, and for some people, they don't want that. So I typically am like, dude, UO Alive is a PVM server. It's a great server. Not a lot of people are playing it. I mean, a lot in terms of Ultima servers, but not a lot in comparison to like Outlands. And me personally, I think, and me and Are You Kidding were talking about this today. I think that, or maybe it was yesterday, I don't know, but the community is what's kept me playing this game so long. I mean, dude, I'm coming up on 6 years. Maybe it's over. I don't know. We're about to do our 6th Pwnstarr meetup, so maybe it's getting close to 7.
Oh, wow.
I don't know, but it literally is just meeting people, playing with them in the game, and the interactions when I'm stealing, and like, no shit, this guy's gonna get me, I gotta go, like I never got that on UO forever. It was just like, all right, champs up, recall there, run my stealing script, and I'm out. Okay, now I just made 18 million because I got a double striker. Like, good job. Like, that was it, and it got old.
Yeah, that's like dungeon stealing on UOR. The population was low to the point that you would go into like, I loved farming blood elementals. I could farm for 2 hours without seeing another person any time of the day. Um, I wasn't farming anywhere secret or anywhere off the beaten path. It was actually a really good farm spot, but yeah, no one was ever around.
Yeah, yeah,
And it, like, dungeon stealing the way that we have it here just didn't exist there.
yeah. And this is
So
way, yeah.
yeah,
Sa-
but here, I mean, so many people. It's like you walk into a dungeon. It's like there's a smorgasbord.
Yeah, yeah. Tons of stuff to steal, whether you want to steal something valuable or not just something random to get them to chase you. I like as well that there's so many variations of thieves. You got like your town thieves, you got your vendor thieves, you got your pure defensive thieves that want to run you through monsters, which is what I like to do.
Yep.
And with only 40 evals, so like my e-bolts are doing 16 damage, but it's enough to like turn around and shoot an e-bolt on somebody if they're low life and get them killed. You know what I mean? That's fun to me. You've got your stealth thieves that are using the world's worst thing ever, object delays, to get deep into bags. And
I refuse to do that. I hate that. I used to do it, and I won't do it anymore.
Same here. And I I'm not knocking anybody who uses it by any means. It's a very, I hate to say it, it's necessary if you want to dig into somebody's bags. But and it's cool, but it's just, to me, like, why are we changing settings back and forth in order to get into people? Like, I don't want to have to change a setting in a game in the middle of doing something in the game back and forth. No, it's so dumb. Like, I get so worked up over it, man. It's just I hate it. And I hate that that's actually a thing we have to do if we want to dig in people's bags.
Yeah, I did that for a long time.
Yeah.
And one day I was just like, this is just a pain in the ass. This is stupid, because you set your object delay, then you go to drag it. First drag doesn't count. Second drag works. Then you turn your object delay off and you go to steal. Well, the object delay turning off, like turning it on, needs an action for it to kick in.
Yeah.
So you go steal, but you still have your object delay. So you're just sitting there for 2 seconds or 2.5 seconds, however long.
Yeah.
But I'd much rather. So one thing that I do in town is I check backpack item counts and weights.
Okay.
Like, there's 5 people there. I pull up 5 paper dolls, click all the backpacks, and see which one has a combination that looks appealing. Lots of items and a good amount of weight, but not too much. That's generally what I look for.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's all magic items, sometimes it's cool stuff. But I'm always looking at that stuff. And I mean, I mean, we've talked about this. I love town stealing.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
out of all the stealing in the game, town stealing, first love.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, because otherwise, if disarm worked differently here, and if my birthday came up and Owen's like, "What do you want for your birthday this year?" I'd be like, "Get rid of that fucking delay."
Yeah, yeah,
At
me
least
too.
on our side.
Yeah, me too, me too. Me too.
But
Make a different player, a different system for that, you know what I
yeah.
mean? Yeah.
But they've done so much for us.
Oh,
And
yeah.
it's funny, it's really easy for people to be like, "Oh, they hate thieves. They don't do anything for thieves." But
I
you know
think
what? Like,
people say that
there
for
was
everything.
well, yeah, people are always gonna complain.
Yeah.
But I look at it this way, like, Greyhand came out. That pissed me off. I was like, "You're changing everything. Rah!" And then realized, well, I'm Red Hand. That doesn't really change anything for me.
Yeah.
Um, and then they came out with the updated noticing rules for NPCs and players noticing you when you steal. And I can't believe this. I should be able to. Why do the NPCs see through brick walls when a monster that has higher intelligence cannot?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that sort of stuff drove me crazy. But like anything else, you learn to live within the constraints, or
Yeah.
you eject. And I wasn't about to eject.
Yeah.
So now, like the constraints, like the 8 tile thing and stuff like that within town, I use all that. And now that I'm used to it, it makes stuff easier.
Sure. Yeah.
Because now, like, I'm in town. I mean, just like from doing it a lot, you learn where all the good steal spots are.
Yeah.
Um, but you also learn a lot about mechanics that you didn't know. Like, especially the rules for getting noticed are outlined in the wiki. No one reads them.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's
whenever
right.
I talk about them, people think I'm telling secrets, but it's like, it's right there.
Yeah.
But you've got that the one mechanic that makes town stealing the absolute easiest is the notice mechanic, because anyone within 8 tiles of a steal, 8 tiles of the thief of a steal, not the mark, has a chance to notice you. You know, if it's nothing but players, they have to actually notice the system message pop up, or maybe have an overhead set. I don't know.
Yep.
Um, but if it's an NPC and you get noticed, they'll always call the guards.
Yeah.
If you're standing in front of an NPC and a player, and you steal from the player, and no blocked vision or anything, that's a 15% chance of getting noticed. So people think stealing is, bugged or something, or their thieves are exploiting, because I can walk right up to you and steal from you while you're right next to that NPC, because I know I've got such a good chance of getting
Yeah.
away with it. Or you get guard whacked, and that
Yeah.
happens, a lot. Um, but once you get used to these rules and you learn to work inside of them, it gets so easy, because it's now just like, it's not like, okay, well, this guy is standing on the left side of the bank and he's got a core in his pocket, and I'm just going to steal it because there are no NPCs with direct line of vision and these players aren't going to do anything. No, no, not anymore. Like, all those players, that's like no blocked vision, that's 10% ahead.
Yeah.
NPCs are 5%, blocked vision cuts it all in half. Um, and but you can use that. You can use that really well. I mean, I it's funny. I was about to start naming stealing spots. But instead, what I'll do instead of that, to find a stealing spot, by the way, put a core in your bag and just stand around.
Yeah.
If you get stolen from, you're in a good stealing spot.
Yeah.
Um, Possibly. Anyway. Um,
Or they just had a good RNG.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
They do get really lucky with the RNG sometimes, but but while I'm doing all this, there's like 3 people running around with detect hidden and tracking on looking for me.
Yeah.
And that's the challenge, because now it's like, now there's the time element. Now it's not like I could sit next to you, wait for you to recall out and steal your sword this time. Now it's, I know that there's 3 guys who like to RP cops running around the towns, and one of them is going to show up any minute. So, and that happens. Okay, I go to vendors.
Yeah.
and which always that's my favorite bit of irony. They're protecting the town from me, from stealing.
Mhm.
Me being any thief, but they're
Sure.
protecting the town from me from stealing. So they're sending me out to steal higher value objects from
Yeah.
other people. Because if I'm in town, I might get a core, a skill scroll, something.
Yeah.
Towns are not lucrative. They're fun, but they're not lucrative.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I was town stealing one day, and I had a dude join my stream, and he's like, "Wow, an hour and a half in, and you've only made 60K." It's like, well, yes,
Yeah.
indeed. I'm glad you can read the overlays. I mean, what do you want me to
Yeah.
say about
Yeah.
that? I was also having a really bad day when that happened, and I just hit ban, um,
Yeah,
and
but
then
man,
unbanned him later. I felt
some
bad.
days are like really lucrative, and some days are not at all, man.
Oh
It
yeah.
might I might go a whole 3 hour session and still 20K worth of shit and just die
Mhm.
nonstop, and it is what it is. And then other days it's just like, man, you're on fire, and a lot of it has to do with who did you run into, which you can't control? What did they have in their
Yep.
bag, which you can't control? What was the RNG on you being caught, which you can't control? I mean, you can, but you
Mhm.
can't.
Yeah.
What was there's just so many variables in dealing that you can't change, and
Yeah.
that to me is a lot of fun in stealing. Is that whole fact that you don't really know exactly what you get. You can game it to a degree, right? As you mentioned
Yep.
earlier, but there's always, how many cops are out, right? How many cops are
Mhm.
out looking at you? Like I said last night, I got my ass kicked all night long. Every dungeon I went to, there was cops there, and it was just like, okay, I'd show
Yeah.
up, I'd steal from somebody. Next thing you know, 10 cops show up because they did a call out, right? And that's
Mhm.
part of the game. Some nights I go in and not a single cop is playing. There's not a single call out, and I'm just robbing people blind. It is what it is. So I just always think it's funny when somebody is like, "Oh, you've only stolen that much," and it's been, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
And it's like, yeah, wait another 10 minutes. I might be up 400K then. I mean, it's
yeah,
the right place at the right time with the right person,
yeah,
you know? And all those stars need to line up. And sometimes they line up, you just kind of fall into a good situation. Sometimes it's just perfect and you execute everything
yeah,
like to the millisecond. And it's one of those times that like no one's in the room, so you high five yourself.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um, there was one time, this one always sticks out in my memory. So I was in Outpost and just kind of working my way around. And Outpost was the crafting place that week. And whenever a town, because of this, whenever a town is the crafting town, I always pop through and check the people who are crafting. Reason for that, when I did that this time, one of the tinkers had an antiquity just
oh
sitting in his
boy,
backpack
smart,
and a
yeah,
ton of tinkered goods. So he's AFK, doesn't know it was even there. And it was like the
yeah,
big tinker desk one too.
yeah,
Um, so, it's like I saw it and I was like, okay, drink. And later I was thinking, it's like, wow, that guy never even knew it was there.
yeah. He lost it and
And
didn't know.
yeah,
Yeah,
and I turned it around for 400K in like 2 minutes.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, I just posted it to a couple of friends. I was like, look what I got. And one was like, I want that.
Is
Like,
that
okay.
is that the best thing you've stolen, or has there been something more worth more? I get asked
As
this
far as
all the
single
time. Yeah,
oh yeah. As far as single items, yeah, that's probably the biggest one. I've never stolen a gold or silver link. Plenty of bronzes, but never golds or silvers.
yeah,
Um, and I've stolen stacks of commodities I'm sure were worth more, stacks of cores that I'm sure were worth more.
yeah,
Um, there's plenty of stuff during vendor stealing that came in stacks that I'm sure were more than that.
yeah,
Um, but no, I haven't encountered anyone buying a gold link at a vendor yet. So,
yeah,
um, but it'll happen. I feel like it's like almost like a rite of passage. Everybody has to do it at some point.
yeah,
And it's I don't know. I look forward to it, but at the same time, I this is going to sound so stupid. I imagined at one point, a friend of mine had stolen a gold link, and what popped into my head, I was probably just hanging out with my son or something. But what popped into my head was like this kid on his birthday who just got a couple $100 from his aunt and went bought Prov so he could buy gold to buy the
Oh my
gold
god.
link. And I took it after 1 second.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, I don't know if I could do that to someone. That's rough.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
in all fairness, when you sign up, it's all on the admission ticket for Outlands.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
will get
Yeah.
PK'd, you will get shit stolen.
Yeah.
You have to be okay with that if you hit submit, you know?
Yeah.
And but at the same time, like I don't think it would keep me up at night, but stuff like that every once in a while when I think about big ticket items,
Yeah.
it jumps into my head. And I'm not thinking about like, the guy who's been playing forever who spends all of his time out on a boat and
Yeah.
makes 1.5 million every time he's out there. I'm not thinking about him. That guy, I'll steal gold links from all day if I have the opportunity, which we'll tap in at some point.
Yeah.
Um, but but yeah, just thinking about it in the other direction, like God, like an ungilded, brand new, you know,
I
it's
yeah, I'd be surprised if I mean, I'm sure it's happened, but I'd be really surprised if somebody legitimately bought Prev to buy a gold link. I just I just think that they would have to really be completely in the unknown of like I mean like what it's just so easy to get that amount of gold.
yeah,
It's way easier to do that versus go and work for or use your birthday money if you're a kid
yeah, right.
on a 3% damage increase. To me, it's just like asinine behavior. I really think that's complete asinine, egregious, like so for somebody to do it. That is a thing people will bring up here and there of like, oh well, you can buy your link. Well, yeah, I mean, technically you could,
Yep.
but it's kind of, yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing. The cost difference is definitely weird.
Oh yeah. Oh
Uh,
yeah, yeah. And I don't think about this that all the time. I
sure.
mean, but the one thing that I do think about is I hope nobody quit because of something that I did.
Yeah, now I
That's
know
that's what
when
sticks with
when I was young and I would like that was my goal. I was a shitty kid, dude. I was a shitty like brand new UO player. Me and Bell team, we had a like we would always say UOG, Ultima Online
me.
Griefers. That was us. We were UOG, right? And we would just try to harass somebody until they would quit. I mean, to the point of like, gild them, kill them, take their stuff. They'd ask for it back, and we'd say, "Well, you have to show us everything in your bank," and they'd still be gilded for whatever reason, and they would put stuff in a trade window from their bank, right? And
Mhm.
they would continue, and we'd be like, "No, that's not all of it. I know there's more in there." And they'd be like, "Okay, fine." And they'd add more into the trade window, and I'd be like, "Nope, there's more." And they'd keep adding more until we really thought it was all of it. Well, what happens is, we would kill them with the trade window open and we'd cancel trade. Well, all the items don't go back into the bank, they go into that person's bag. So that's
Yep.
how we would rob people's banks. And I mean, it was stuff like that. I mean, I can go on with more stories, but it was stuff like that that we would do to people. And I'm like, I couldn't fathom doing that today. You know,
Yeah.
I, there's been times where somebody's came into chat and been very upset that I looted them or stole something from them, and I'm like, hey man, like I don't want you to be upset. If you want your stuff back, let me know. If they come in and they're like talking like mad shit, I'm like, yeah, you can win it at the end of the stream, you know. But like if I can tell it's like a genuine like,
Yeah, you
I'll
go to
give it back.
marbles?
Yeah, exactly. You go to Marbles? You like trivia? Um, but there's at the same time too, to your point, let's say I'm out and somebody for whatever reason has a bag. Okay, like this is a perfect example. Somebody had a bag of their event winnings and they scored high. For whatever reason, they had it in their on their body. It was an obvious mistake. They died to me in the dungeon. I looted it. I opened the bag and it's all their event winnings. Yep, we're giving this shit back. That was an
Yeah.
honest mistake, man. I mean, you just spent the last couple of weeks grinding your ass off for this stuff. I it, no, you can have it back here.
No.
Like it's a lot different now. I'm also 40 and I'm not 13, right?
Mhm.
So
Yeah, I was thinking like, back when I started playing UO, like, my early 20s and stuff, I would have been all about that, but now like
yeah,
maybe fatherhood changes you. Maybe it's the fact I'm 47 now,
yeah,
but it totally yeah, I think about that stuff now. And
yeah,
honestly, I don't want to steal from that guy. I
yeah,
want
yeah,
to steal from someone who is, I want to steal from the people who just picked up a couple of cores and they're just kind of
yeah,
either taking their time getting to the bank or they're just still farming and they don't want to run them out.
yeah.
Um, you know, that that I feel better about. I do like vendor stealing, and I realize that's kind of a contradiction because you have the potential to steal something really big ticket. Um, but at the same point,
That's part of
it
it,
was
man.
on the admission ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think there's a difference in stealing a gold link or a icebreaker, if you're sitting next to a ship vendor or something, that's worth a shit
Yeah.
ton of money, a really good 20 million crew item, I don't know, whatever. And you steal that versus, you know, stealing some guy that really screwed up and he's like carrying his tome around with him and it's got all of his gold links and silver links and bronze link. I'd probably give that back too, dude. I'd be
Yeah, oh, I
like,
would.
yeah, I'd be
I
like,
wouldn't be happy about
yeah.
it, but I'd give it back.
Yeah, I'd be like, this isn't blessed, right? Here, you need this back. I
Yeah,
know I would. Um, that's terrible. But back in the
yeah.
day, oh, dude, that shit's mine. Good job. Thank you. So, what's your favorite dungeon town? I won't ask your favorite vendor to steal from, but what's your favorite dungeon or town or both? To steal from.
As far as towns go, Prevalia, easy,
Yeah,
easy answer.
a lot of targets.
Um, there are tons of steel spots in Prevalia. It's the most popular town.
Yeah,
So there are lots of people running in and out. There are lots of people who go to Prevalia, they do their business, they move to like one of the back alleys and then just sit there while they figure out their next move.
yeah,
And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. I'm gonna stealth up on you and take shit.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and on that note, I've seen a lot of people been like, oh, town thieves are bullshit because they look for people who are AFK. Yes,
Yeah.
we do.
Okay. Okay. Like, what's
If
your
you don't
point?
take advantage of an opportunity, I'm interested in what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's what you do as a thief. I mean, I'm running
yeah,
around
I
like
mean,
I
I
told
don't
you with
want someone
40
who's
eval,
AFK,
waiting
but still.
for. I'm just waiting for somebody to be low life when they're running away from or running towards me with monsters on their ass, so I can turn around and mind blast or ebolt them. Like it's
Yep.
there's nothing different. Like a thief is an opportunistic template. Whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. No, it completely is. Like
Yeah.
as thieves, we're opportunists.
Yeah.
Um, and that opportunity is, when someone's AFK in a back alley of Prevalia, um, if you're watching, don't do that,
Yeah.
or else I'll steal from you, or someone else will. But also, don't idle with your weapon in your backpack instead of in your hand.
Yeah.
I mean, there are so many things that people do. Don't have unblessed rune books in your backpack, especially full ones. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, there are lots of things that people do that I think I've thought about making a how not to get stolen from video.
Yeah. You
Uh,
should.
well, I don't know about that should word, but because I don't want to give away everything. But
I mean,
there are a
I
lot of
don't.
easy ways to get stolen from, and I still don't know why people don't use send to bank.
Here's
I
the
love that they
deal.
don't use send to bank, but
I mean,
always
like
use send.
trapped boxes, like the actual trap that you double click, and but that's a
Mhm.
perfect thing. Even a locked chest. I mean, nobody has lockpick. I mean, not nobody, but most people don't have lockpicking, and most people aren't going to sit there and unlock a chest. Like if I see a little chest, you know what, man? 50% of the time, it's not even locked, right? It's just sitting in
Mhm.
there, and it's a deterrent. I don't open it because I'm just like, yeah, it's probably trapped. Whatever. On to the next guy. Um, but a lot of people don't use that, and you know, I've made videos of how not to get stolen from. Trammy Surprise has made videos of how not to get stolen from. Some people take that advice, but I think you should, right? But I'm always going to tell people like, "Oh, you got a video idea? Yeah, make it." Like
Yeah.
that's just I feel like that's my mission is like, "Yeah, you should do that. Definitely make a video. You want to make a video? Make a video." You know, but yeah, Do it.
Yeah, yeah, I should make one that's how not to get stolen from at vendors, and it's
Yeah.
just gonna be a full minute of me staring into the camera saying "send to bank" over and over again
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because people don't use it, and I don't know why. I use it every single time,
What is it,
unless I'm buying something I know
5%,
people won't care
10%?
about.
It's like 5 or 10% or
Yeah,
something like that? Yeah,
yeah,
it's
it's
fine.
something
Yeah.
like that. It
Yeah,
might
yeah.
even be lower than 5, but it's not much,
Yeah,
and it's an amazing mechanic,
yeah,
but people don't use it.
yeah.
So, hey, more for us,
So
right?
you mentioned it earlier. You're in the CC Casual Crusaders, right? Casual
Yes.
Crusaders. I always make a joke, and you. It's funny. There's nothing casual about LeGuinness at all, other than the
Nothing.
fact that he logs in for he when after he's done doing 18-hour streams for 3 months straight, he's gone for 9 months. That's the
Mhm.
casual part. But anyway, so aside from that, how did you get started with Casual Crusaders? What's the mission of Casual Crusaders? And like who were some of the key people, or I don't know, just tell us about them.
Casual is really a dress code thing. We're more jeans and t-shirts type of guys. We don't game with ties on.
Yeah.
So Casual Crusaders, I was brought into the fold back in 2021,
Okay.
which I only know because I looked it up the other day. We were just talking about it. But I was brought in by Graydon. I don't know if you know him. He's a guild master at CC. Um, and CC, unlike some other guilds I talked to, was totally cool with the fact that I ran a thief. And they're just like, listen, respect us, respect our allies. Aside
Yeah.
from that, have fun.
Yeah.
And I was with them for a while. Well, I still am with them. All my PVM characters are in CC still, and CC is where I hang out. But my thief, Kilgore, actually is not in CC because there are too many alliances that are ocean only. And when like half the server is green and you're not really 100% sure who you can steal from. So I know who their main alliances are, just from being in the guild and stuff. So those are the ones that I stay away from. So like, when I see a green name and I don't recognize the guild, I check first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like, oh hey, I see this person. They're in ABC. They're green. Is that Ocean or something, or is that new? But outside of that, they were really cool with it. And as I was stealing stuff and posting stuff to the Discord and stuff, they were all loving it.
Yeah.
And I left. I pulled Kilgore SCC because of that, and joined the Rogue Tower with him.
Okay.
Because that's where a lot of my old friends from UOR, the thieves I ran with there, they were all over in Rogue Tower.
And was that
So
Scavengers Guild?
yeah,
Yes. Okay.
well,
There
I
we
think
go.
it's Scavenger, Silk,
Yeah.
those guys. Um, and so I spend a lot of time over there. I spend a lot of time kind of like with these guys, like kind of like I don't know, loose consortium of thieves on the shard who are surprisingly close, um, and a bunch of great guys. Um, but as far as CC goes, CC is they do PvP, but they're a PAVM guild first and foremost. Um, we're recruiting. We're open to new and existing players who are looking for a new home. The kind of mission is we want to help people become we want them to realize who they want to be in Outlands.
Yeah.
You know, like if you come here and you're like, oh yeah, well I saw this video on boating and it sounds pretty awesome. And it's like, okay, great. Well, we're gonna pair you up with Nexius, who is one of our officers who does all the boating stuff. Um, and we're gonna pair you up with him, and he's gonna teach you all the stuff there. Or that someone wants to be a thief, so they come to me, or somebody's in time wants to know more about time, so they go to like Robert.
Yeah.
Um,
Hi,
so
Avatar,
he knows a thing or two.
Robert.
He
He
knows a thing or
might.
two about time.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so we've got people who do a little bit of everything, but it's more to the point that we want to see people, become. We want you to have as much fun as you can in this game, and we want to help you get there.
Yeah.
That's I think if I was going to sum it up, that's how I put it.
That's cool.
Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, we do T8s, omnis, bosses. We do just for fun events. We're doing Bomberman in a couple of days again.
Nice.
We just did. I just ran an event. It was King of the Hill with Magic Arrow.
Okay.
So we went to the arenas and did like these like 4-on-4 matches, like elimination style matches, where the only offensive move you can make is Magic Arrow
That's fun.
and
That's
no
fun.
defense, like
Yeah.
50-50-50. Um, oh, it was absolute mayhem. It was great. I haven't laughed that hard in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we do a lot of stuff. We hang out a lot in Discord. If anybody's if anybody's hearing this and thinking, oh, that might be a guild for me, one thing I want to put out there is we're more of an evening guild. US East Coast time.
Yeah.
Would generally start getting active around 8 or 9. Which for some of us, I go to bed early, so I'm not on all night, but we've got guys who are on all night.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people in Europe who are on during the day. Um, so it's a great guild. I've been actually asked as part of like the graphic stuff I've been doing. I've been asked by a couple of guilds, like I wouldn't say asked, but just kind of like they put it out there, like, hey, if you're looking for something new, we'd be happy to have you.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's super flattering.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same point, it's like I've been friends with these guys for years,
Yeah.
you
I get
know?
it. I get
And
it. Yeah.
at some point, it's like even if all my characters were out of CC, it'd probably still be the main place I'd hang out.
Yeah.
But I have no plan to do that because, I've been there forever and I love those guys.
I I like CC a lot. I mean, they kind of, like you said, dabble into just about everything, right? And it doesn't seem like a very large guild, right? But it's a
Right.
guild that's, I mean, like you see the people, right? They're a dedicated group of players, and I tend to, where I see one CC, I tend to see more, right? I can tell that you
Yeah.
guys are hanging out with each other. One of my favorite things about CC is that talking about Robert the Bruce, I can remember if I'd stole from him, then I knew he was going to chase me. But not only him, like the other three CC that are with him, like it was, they all work together. It's not like you just got like one guy that's, like, oh, he just stole from me, and then the other three are just like, huh, what? Like they would all jump on me, and then I'd have a great fun chase, running from CC. And fuck, dude,
Yeah.
I died to see. If I go to my book of grudges, I probably got quite a few deaths from CC. They're pretty good at chasing. So I've always had a good respect for CC quite a bit. So
Yeah. When a bunch of us are out, and we're all people who like prefer to play with other people. So we travel in packs.
yeah,
Just because it's more fun that way.
yeah, definitely,
Um, and as a result, like, PKs come and sometimes like, oh yeah, there's a PK on tracking. What do you guys want to do?
yeah,
Do you guys want to drop or you guys want to go after him or,
yeah,
and so there have been times that we're trying to decide what we feel like doing. And it's like, oh, PK is on the screen. We should probably either turn, attack, or run real quick.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
One of the two.
but a lot of times it's just like PK. So it's like, okay, everybody get together, get ready to drop.
Yep.
As soon as I come on stream, or on the screen, not on the stream.
Yeah,
Well, I suppose both.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's a lot of fun. I have a lot of fun with those guys. I have a lot of fun with the new players too. Like I love working with new players.
yeah, yeah,
And we've got a small number of them that we try not to bring in too many of them because you're right, we're not that big of a deal. We've been around a long time, but we're not like a 200-person guild or anything like that, or even close to that.
yeah,
But what we are is extremely tight knit.
yeah,
But unlike a lot of tight knit groups, we're also really welcoming.
yeah,
But so we bring in a couple of new players at a time. We work with them. Generally, if it's a new player, you'll spend most of your time either with me or with another guy, Tesla. We've run people through the ropes a lot and help them out a lot. And not, the officers do too. We're just around during the day when they are. So
yeah.
we just end up getting pretty involved into it.
I like it.
Um, yeah, it's cool. It's
So,
cool.
so tell me, man. We've got this whole. I was really happy and honored about it. But they Outlands, and Luthieus, let me kind of host this developer pipeline. Whether it's going to be an actual expansion or they're just going to roll things
Mhm.
out, who knows? But some cool new additions to Outlands are coming, like they always do. But these are like bigger ones, and man, it was some really cool stuff, right? What are out of those things? I mean, what are some of your thoughts on that? What's your favorite thing? What are your thoughts?
Oh, I don't know. I don't watch your channel.
Yeah,
No, I totally do. Um, the biggest thing that jumped out at me is like when they talked about a new landmass.
yeah,
Because I know so many people who have been waiting forever to place
yep,
a house and they've got the money for the deed and everything, but they don't have the 80 mil to like to get something on land, or forget even a boathouse. But they'll never afford something that already exists. But at the same point, there's new land coming out, so they'll get a chance.
yeah, yeah,
Whereas right now they've got no chance.
right,
So outside of like the housing lottery.
yeah,
So that's the biggest thing for me. The spell chaining thing, that's one of those things that's like it sounds cool, but I'm gonna have to actually do it to form an opinion on it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, of course.
Um, But overall, like I thought it was really cool. I like the new classes. Geomancer is going to be really interesting.
Yeah,
And I love the fact that you can summon the big elementals now.
yeah,
But yeah, I think a lot of the stuff that's coming out is really exciting. But the landmass for me, like when I heard that, I was like, all I could think of was like all I hear all the time is how can I get a house? How can I find
yeah.
somewhere to put a house?
Yeah, and it's a
And
weird, unfortunate, and fortunate thing. Owen said it before. He's like, I could just open up Green Acres and just, there you go, have fun, but it'd all be filled up. And then you have, just an ugly piece of green and houses are there, but what's the why? And then there's the in rooms, which, you know, I can say it until I'm blue in the face, and everybody can say it, and it can be on the wiki and all that. But I mean, like, numbers and logistically speaking, an in room is way OP versus spending 80 million on a similar sized house, right?
oh yeah,
And but there's just something about having grass and trees and other people around you versus you know a just a room, right? And I
mhm,
understand that, right? I can't argue that at all. I wish there was a right answer, but at the same time, I also think it's cool that there is a supply and demand, right? I think it's cool that, as they introduce new lands, we know that it's all going to get gobbled up instantly and we're going to be right where we're at, right when it happens. But more people are going to have a house. And it's going to be the same thing of, I loved Outlands, but I never could get a house. Okay.
yeah,
Yep. That's, man, it's kind of a cool problem to have. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah.
it is. Um, but I do think too that it maybe you don't just go straight for the giant 80 million house that you can get a pretty decent house for 10 million. You can get a
Mhm,
decent house for 20 and on up. I mean, you get what you pay for and what have you. Um, but I would also encourage for anybody out there for the new lands, if you got a guild or a group of friends, you guys, you might try to work and place together in certain areas, and you might be able to get one of those 80 million houses, and you guys can share whatever you decide to do.
mhm,
That's how I got my big house was during the land grab. We had people that would they were like, I'm going to be a seller. So if I win the raffle, then I'm going to place where I'm told to, and then that person will buy that lot. And so I
yeah,
was able to, buy 6 lots, small house lots from people, and then we
yeah,
wiped them all down, and I placed mine, and now I have Bone Hall. It might have been 8. I don't remember how many it was, but whatever. Um, and it was just, and there was multiple people in our guild that did that, and I thought that was really cool. So
Yeah, I did the same thing, smaller scale, but like when you could place houses around Shadowspire. Actually, someone who I had sold something to, and we just ended up chit chatting for a while.
yeah.
Like this is like 2 weeks after that happened. He was like, "Hey, you mentioned you were looking for a house. I found a spot that's big enough for a window." So I placed it immediately. And then a few days later, I figured out, what's available, what's not, as far as like terrain goes. And I upgraded that to a small tower. The small, like this small stone tower, like
Yeah.
not the like, you know. And that was cool for a while. And there was an 8x8 next to me and an 8x8 behind me. So I bought the two of those for, and this is going to make people sick. I think I bought them for like 2.5 each.
Uh-huh.
Um, and once I had those, I put down, it's the, I forget the name of the house, but it's the one where it's like kind of U-shaped with a really small courtyard in the middle and two floors. It's big.
Yeah.
Um, but I placed that one and it was just like, I'm never going to decorate this thing. This thing's huge. And the one house that I always wanted, that I saw like on the website that I always wanted, was like the one, like it's kind of like a villa but has a tower on one side.
Okay.
Um, and I always liked that one. And when I was thinking about selling the big one, I just put it out there, and somebody asked me if I would want to trade. And they're like, "Oh no, like right on the bay by Prevalia, you're right on the beach. It's this type of house." And as soon as he told me what type of house it was, I was like, "Sold."
Yeah,
So
yeah. Now you got a beach
yeah, so
house.
I've been there ever since.
Yeah. Now you
Yeah,
got a
so
beach house.
through a bunch of trading and stuff, I ended up getting the house that I have now for probably a grand total of 8 or 9 million.
Yeah. That's great. That's good.
And if I sold it today, it'd probably be like 40 or 50.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, location has a lot to do with it too. Um, like my boathouse, I've been offered a lot. I'm not even going to say, but I've been offered a lot. But I mean, I really think that boathouse that I have is in the best location in the game.
Mhm.
Right there, just south of Terran Docks. In its own little private area through the mountains, and it's really cool by that orc fort. But then I have where Pwnhalla is. It's just out in the middle of where other houses are. And while I really like Pwnhalla, it's a great house and it's
Mhm.
decorated good, and I got the vendors there and everything. Not really that cool of a location. It's just there. But either way, the your point on the spell sequencing, I think that's what it's called. Spell sequence, whatever. I
Mhm.
I agree with you. I mean, everything you always have to try and play around with, and even Luthien is like, I haven't really pinpointed everything yet and all that. What I did like is that you could set spells to do certain things for you, and I thought that would add a whole nother flavor of template building, right? So like, if you do all defensive stuff, maybe that makes you more tanky, right? Or if you do bleeds, well, then you can get damage to bleed links as an arcane mage or whatever. And so now you're a arcane wizard bleeder, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be some really cool stuff. Same with a poisoner, right? You could be a poison necro with damage to poison and poison damage with the. There, I'm excited for it a lot.
Yeah.
We'll see how the final rendition comes out, but I will say, you know, I always use this reference, but I remember when they were like, "Yeah, we're gonna do chivalry and necromancy." I was like, "Yay!" But I wasn't really sure about it, and then it came
Yeah.
out, and I was like, "Okay, yeah, this is cool. I see. All right, yeah, that's cool." But yeah,
Yeah, I remember when those came out and I just like didn't get it because I
yeah,
also wasn't PVMing at all.
yeah,
So they came out, I was like, "Oh, well, this doesn't mean anything to me."
yeah, yeah,
Like, there's so many things that didn't mean anything to me because all I was doing was stealing. And I mean, yeah, I took some breaks in there, like,
yeah,
but yeah, like mastery chain. I didn't work on a mastery chain for years.
yeah, yeah,
Um, but yeah, it's always funny. But yeah, that's this spell thing. It looks like it could be really cool, but it's one of those things where it's like you just know you have to get your hands on it to try it out.
yeah,
But whenever
yeah.
that hits test, oh, I'm gonna use the crap out of it.
So on your paper doll work and things like that, um, what what would you say is probably your favorite one that you've done?
Okay, so it's between two of them.
Yeah.
One of them is a custom that I did for myself,
Okay.
and it's at the top of the page. It's or not a custom. I'm sorry, a pre-made that I did just because I wanted it. But it's the one that has like all the color bands on
It's
the
really cool.
Atari logo on the TV and stuff,
Hmm.
and like the Space Invaders on the background, and like the icon is like a bunch of old Atari games. That one is that one's probably that it's usually my favorite of the pre-mades, and it's probably one of my favorites overall. But as far as customs go, the first skin that I did for Krasnog, it's the one that's like super vaporwave with like the grid on
I
it and
like it.
stuff,
Yeah.
like the headphones over the side. Um, that's one of the first times that somebody didn't want something medieval,
Okay.
and I was just like,
Yeah.
whoever I can thank for this, I thank you.
Yeah. 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 I'm doing something different. That's great.
Yeah, because I got so many in a row. It's like, yeah, we want like an awesome night doing awesome things. It's like,
Yeah.
fuck, I'm like running out of awesome things for nights to do.
Yeah. 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 There's only so many nights.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
But
I like cool guilds a lot. They're another like synthwave kind of
mhm,
thing. Cool guilds, and the where you put the uh, glorious Lord Pwnstarr, Grandmaster Mage or whatever that little description part down there.
mhm,
You've got
yeah,
for the cool guild. You've got the little squares that kind of go up, and it gives it a really good depth. I mean, you just Google synthwave background, and you'll see what I'm talking about. I just think it's so cool how that one's my personal favorite that I've seen you do.
yeah.
I'm like, oh, I like I'm not gonna leave Sin. I love Sin, but seeing that, I'm like, shit. I wish I was in Cool Guild. That way, I could sport that one. Like that's cool to
Yeah,
me. So
those guys are really easy to work with too. That one was a lot of fun.
yeah,
I have a lot of fun with like almost all of them. Like at the end, I almost always tell somebody I had a lot of fun doing this because I love what I do.
yeah,
The graphic stuff I can do forever.
yeah.
Um, other work stuff not so much, but I love doing graphics.
How many have you done now? Like 30, 20?
The one that I was working on yesterday, the Saved by the Bell theme, that
Yeah.
was number 44.
44. I was off. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Yeah, I've done a lot of these. 9 or 10 of them are pre-mades, but all the rest are customs.
Yeah. How
And
how do people reach out to you? Talk about them. Like get going with one.
so most often, people just message me.
Yeah.
I I advertise every once in a while, but not that often. But people generally message me that they've heard about me from usually you. And something that I don't know if I've told you this, but I've been meaning to. I think easily 75% to 80% of the work that I've gotten is directly because of you.
Yeah.
And I thank you so much for that.
You
Like,
do good
and
work, man.
all, well, yeah, and you've been so supportive of me since the beginning. I
Yeah.
really appreciate it. Um, but yeah, people generally they message me. Um, Sometimes it's just like, hey, I want this pre-made, and here's a screenshot of the one I'm asking for. Um, Usually with customs, they want to know how it works, and customs are really they're a lot more fun because they start out. I want to hear your ideas. I want to hear your vision. Before we even talk turkey, before I get started, um, I want to know what you have in mind because if it's someone with like a grand view that I don't think I can make happen, or I don't think I can do it well enough, it's good to know that up front.
Yeah. Yeah.
There have been a couple of times where people have, I've talked to people and I did their skins, but there have been a couple of times where people have come to me with an idea and I was like, you know what? Let me let that marinate for a day or two. I
Yeah.
think we're good, but let me just let that, sink in.
Yeah.
Um, Other ones, it's like somebody comes to me, like Krasnog's again was like, I was like, so what do you want on yours? He's like, I don't know, like, you know, sound stuff. People like that I'm really into music. I was like, cool. Can I go vaporwave? Like straight up, totally vaporwave.
Yeah.
And he said yes, and well, that's what happened.
Yeah.
Um, he gave me his colors, and I got really into it. But yeah, dude, I get really into these. As far as payments and stuff go, I tell people it's a quarter up front. Um, when I actually start working, not when we make the agreement.
Yeah.
Because I know if you and I make an agreement today, 2 weeks from now, you might have different expenses and stuff, and you might not want to spend,
Yeah.
a couple million.
Yeah.
Um, and so I always ask for that. Is like, if my hands are ready to hit the keyboard and the mouse, then let's do that
Yeah.
upfront payment.
Yeah.
Everything else is due at the end. I generally work until I hear the phrase "I love it," like holistically, not just like, "Oh, I love what you did for the backpack."
Yeah.
But I want. I mean, you're gonna look at this thing all the time. It's gonna be up in the corner. You gotta love it. And a lot of people are like, "Oh, I'm sorry that I'm being so picky." No, dude, be picky.
Yeah. Or in my
You
case,
know,
it's yeah. Not only am I going to look at it, but so is everybody else.
yeah, right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I will say the one that I did for the Dexter tournament is one of my favorites.
It's mine too.
Um,
Yeah, that one's
that one
classic.
came together so well.
Yeah.
And like from the beginning, we're both like gore,
Yeah. Yeah.
and just like the fact that it's just like covered in blood.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, I just liked that one a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah. I agree. It's really cool. My pink syrup is really ruining it right now. I need to have a little bit more gory of a weapon instead of a pink syrup and wizard hat. But it is what it
Mhm.
is. Yeah, maybe I'll switch that up here pretty soon. Because I mean,
Well,
shoot,
you
I've
know what?
got
I do have a pink UI around here somewhere.
yeah, yeah.
The
You've
one
got
person they asked for the red, the one with all the handprints on it, the red hand one.
uh-huh.
They asked for that in pink.
There,
And I
there
was
you
okay. If
yeah.
that's, are you sure? But yeah, it was exactly what they wanted, and they loved it. So that works for me.
That's great. You've heard of red hand. Now there's pink hand.
We steal bubble gum.
So
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
no, that was just an I
Yeah.
didn't have a follow up for it.
So, we were talking about streaming as well. Like you stream some of this, quite a bit of it. Everything from the stealing to paper dolls, and making that. And I kind of talked about it, at the beginning of the stream, where it's it's been really cool for me just watching you. Now I use Canva and GIMP, right? So I don't use
Mm,
Photoshop, but the principles are the same. You know what I mean? It's like here's
yeah,
an idea, and then I can just take that to GIMP or Canva and be like, okay, he did this and he called it this, so I can YouTube how to do that and what buttons to click and where that is, or if that's a capability. There's a lot of things in Photoshop that aren't in GIMP or that aren't in Canva. Um, Canva is very easy to use, but Photoshop is way
yeah.
more
Canva's
powerful.
great.
Yeah. But anyways, how has streaming that been? I mean, do you find it enjoyable? I mean, how's the community been, etc.?
I think it's a lot. I like it a lot. I like streaming. It's either, for the most part, it's either stealing or paper dolls. More often than not, it's paper dolls.
Yeah.
Um, the stealing streams, they get more upfront audience.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Like, people see a game. It's Twitch. People are there for games, primarily, and e-girls, but mostly games. But
You're not much of an
so
e-girl, are you, man?
you know what? I'm not. I'm not.
Me either. Me either.
Unfortunately, I don't do just chatting. So. um, but no, the people that I've met through streaming have been like really supportive, giving me a lot of advice. You've given me a lot of advice. But really early on, but like, if I want a lot of viewers quickly, like stealing, they're there up front. But with the design, people are a lot more talkative,
Yeah.
and they come in slower, but they're a lot more present. And people give me ideas and stuff like that, and I love it. Like on Game Thrones UI,
Yeah.
how it says ego on the side.
Yeah.
So that was barely theirs idea. Like he was in my stream at the time. He's like, "Oh, you should make those vines. They almost say ego. You should make them say ego." And I was like, "That's fucking genius. I love it."
Yeah.
Um, so the ideas come from just about anywhere, and I think that people joining when I'm doing the paper dolls is just that's when I'm having the most fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because stealing, I love stealing, but I don't know. I like stealing when it's just me. You know, I don't like it as much as it's for when it's for an audience,
I get it.
because then it's like I feel like there's like that pressure,
Oh yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's just like, oh man, you know,
Yeah, no, like last night, man, I was sitting there right in front of Agus. God, I can't remember who the guy's name was, but I was just sitting there right in front of Agus, chatting, and then all of a sudden this guy just dumped on me. Never, I don't know who this guy was, but he just dumped on me. It was an easy dump to survive, and I didn't. I just like foobarred the whole thing up and died. And I was in my head, I'm like, well, shit, that was embarrassing. I shouldn't have died there, but I did.
yeah.
You know, it is what it is, and that happens a lot. Like I'll just completely foobar stuff up, and it is what it is, man. I don't think people care. I mean, you'll get people that'll talk shit, but whatever. It's Ultima. That's what
Yeah.
the game is. But I also play at about 50%. 50% effectiveness if I'm streaming,
Yeah.
because I'm also watching chat and trying to interact with that. My mind is, you know what I mean. It's like different
Yeah.
different areas and stuff, but I enjoy it
Yeah, it's
personally. But yeah,
different. It's
yeah,
so different. Like when I'm doing like when you see like one of the compilation videos I put on YouTube, those things that's over the course of like hours.
yeah,
And it's a 2.5 minute video.
yeah,
Or sometimes it's over the course of days. You know, I don't play all the time. You know, I've got lots of free time these days, but I don't play all the time. Um, except for what we were talking about earlier.
yeah,
All the non-game time that counts.
yeah, yeah.
But oh, I completely forgot where I was going with that. Where
Yeah,
was
no,
I going with
I
that?
get it. Like I play, but then a lot of time goes into the editing, which in your case would
Yeah,
be the editing, the paper dolls and things like that.
yeah,
Um, you know, it's but my actual in-game time, it's gotten more lately actually with like time dungeon and stuff. You know, I've got
mhm,
set times that I do that with, and that's probably outside of streams, that's 80-90% of my playtime now is those set time dungeon raids. I fucking love it. But yeah, I get it for sure.
yeah. I spent most of yesterday macroing alchemy and carpentry,
Yeah,
and I spent a lot of that. I'm not gonna lie, sitting here waiting for blue text, so I get that little squirt of serotonin or dopamine or
yeah,
whatever every time we see that blue text.
yeah, yeah, yeah. What as a newer streamer, any hurdles you've ran into, anything that you might suggest to anybody that may want to start streaming, content creation, you know, anything like that?
Yeah, yeah. So as far as a hurdle, almost all of them were just me related. Like I was, no one's gonna watch. I'm not gonna be entertaining enough. I'm not gonna have stuff to say. No one's gonna care. They're all gonna talk shit. They're gonna reveal that I'm actually a shitty thief. Imposter syndrome stuff. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
getting over all of that, the only way to do it is to just start and realize, you know, yes, all of that might happen.
yeah,
Start anyway,
yeah,
because you know what? Lots of other stuff will happen, and any of the bad stuff will just kind of, for most of it, will just kind of like drift away in the wash.
yeah,
You know, there was in all the time I've been streaming, only one person showed up to talk crap to me, and I hit ban, and I have a slight regret on that because I should have just been like, I should have just said hi. You know, like what? You know, if somebody comes in, they've got a bad attitude and stuff. That's not about me. That's about something that's going on in their life and something that made them feel that way. And now they're here and they're my problem.
mm,
Um, so, I mean, the automatically banning that guy, I felt bad about because it's just like, what if I could have helped him have a better day? You know, what if he came in, he talked shit to me, and I was like, "Oh, you're right, I'm the worst. Haha, what are you up to?"
yeah,
You know, you can turn people around like that, and I've dealt with that a lot in software. You know, the marketing departments who don't understand a word of what we're talking about, but they read an article
yeah,
and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, you know, we should put AI on this. What do you want to do?" I don't know, but we need AI. We're gonna get left behind if we don't have AI.
yeah, yeah,
And the company that I worked with last actually had that conversation. The CEO like literally put her fist on the table and said, "We need AI."
Okay.
with no other qualifications.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, okay. Well, guess I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, randomly enough, I wrote an AI app for Outlands. Um, I wrote a chatbot that was powered by the Outlands skills wiki,
Okay.
and so you can just type into it what skills go with healing, and it'll tell you, or what skills go with hiding, and it'll tell you, stealth, detect hidden, blah blah blah, blah, but here's why.
Okay. Yeah.
And I mean, yeah, it's quoting the wiki, and the wiki pages are not marked up and labeled and stuff the way that you would want AI input to be. Still pretty cool though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what all these LLMs are doing. I mean, you can obviously use them for different stuff as well, but I mean, it's like they're just scavenging the internet, pulling stuff, and then turning it into a conversation, right?
Yep.
You know, Perplexity is like a big one that I've been using lately. Used to, I was all about Grok, right? It was all about Grok,
Yeah.
but I like Perplexity a lot because it'll say this, and then there's these little like numbers right next to what it's saying, and it's like it's showing different areas that it pulled that information from. So
Mhm.
then you can go to those websites, read those websites, and be like, oh, this is a satire website. This is bullshit, or you can be like, oh, this is cool, right? Or you know what I mean? Like, I've really liked that one, but um, and then of course there's stuff that people use that they use all that stuff for that I don't even know, but I bet you probably do, being a software developer.
Mhm.
But for me, it kind of stops at the whole like, input and using and things like that. But yeah, there's some
I won't
cool
get
shit
too
going on.
deep into it, but there
Yeah,
was one project that I'm really proud of that I did at my last place, which was it was a book publisher who published. See, I'm really big into education technology,
yeah,
and this was a book publisher that published textbooks for foreign languages for students and high school students.
mhm.
And fairly big name. Like my son uses their books, at his school, and it was a great place. And what we had little checkpoints in the lessons for the students to take. And what I did is I built a system that looked at their history of all their checkpoints, along with everybody else who has a similar history,
Yeah,
and basically use if you and I do roughly the same on a lot of these certain checkpoints, I
yeah.
can predict that my grade, will be close to your grade in this upcoming.
Okay, yeah,
So we built like kind of like a big predictive model
yeah.
using a graph database, and it was so cool.
I
And then half the company got laid off.
Yeah, that happens, right? I've seen some that are like, hey, what this will do is this will look through your competition's marketing, and then it
Mhm.
will use your company and create similar marketing but with your own branding, etc. Or what have you. I think that's pretty cool. I don't think there's, some people hear that and they're probably like, "What? So you're just going to copy other people?" Well, it's working. You know what I mean? Like that's just what people end up doing. I mean,
Dude,
uh,
you've heard the statement art is theft. I
yeah,
mean, that applies across the board. I mean,
yeah,
when kind of like along those lines, I'm doing a UI, I'm looking at as many references as I can. I'm
sure,
going through Adobe, looking at movie posters. I tell people to
yeah,
check out movie posters all the time for ideas. Um, you know, I'm going through all these places. I'm looking at templates and stuff, even like magazine ads, and just
yeah, yeah.
figure out what I want to do.
Well, most
That
good
completely
ideas are
translates to what
spin-offs.
you're talking about. Yeah.
Right. Most good ideas are spin-offs of, this was. I mean, that's why they call things inspiration, right?
Yeah.
Musicians, it's like, where'd you get your inspiration from? Oh, Mother Love Bone. Oh, wow, they were a great grunge band. They started grunge, right? And that's where
Mhm.
Nirvana got their inspiration from. You know what I mean? Like, there's
Yep.
some, or there's so many different like inspiration's a thing that doesn't just pop up out of nowhere. I mean, I'm sure that whoever created, started the first fire got some kind of inspiration. Maybe his house burned down or so. I don't know. I'm just saying, like, like you get where I'm getting at on that, the wheel and things. But
Yeah.
he saw like a bunch of dirt rolled down, and he was like, "That looks like a wheel. I'm gonna create a wheel." I don't know, man. It's just like whatever. But
Yeah.
aside from all that, you know, back onto like streaming and content creation. What kind of? I mean, 2025. We've still got what 6 months, 5 months left. I mean,
Yep.
what kind of goals you got for 2025 for streaming, content creation, paper dolls? You know, does it expand beyond paper dolls and bags? I mean, what?
So what I look at streaming as so I look at YouTube as this will get people to check out the stream. I look at the stream as people will go to my Discord. I look at the Discord as people are going to look at the art and want to buy art. Um, so it's kind of part of like an advertising funnel, I guess.
Yeah.
Because what I want to do is I want to get as much art business as I can. Not just paper dolls. I mean, the paper dolls are awesome. I have a lot of fun making them, and I plan to continue making them for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, but I've also done overlays. I've done some overlays for you, but like streaming overlays, flyers, pamphlets. I do print. I do web. Um, and what I would like to turn this into is, maybe some small non paper doll freelance jobs that I can pick up.
Yeah.
And like I've already talked to someone about logo design. I've talked to other people about websites and stuff.
Yep.
Um, so, I'm hoping like a little bit of freelance stuff will come my way as a result of it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm also in other facets trying to basically make the freelance thing work. Like I'm also like on Fiverr and stuff. I actually trying to do JavaScript bugs for people. Like I'll fix your JavaScript bugs, or I'll fix your website layout, or I'll do a usability study, or I'll make your website accessible for those with like visual impairments.
Okay. Cool.
Um, Actually, what's really cool about that? So I've done a lot of accessibility work in the past, and and around some of it was ADA stuff. Some of it was around the web content accessibility guidelines, which is basically like a superset of all the of most of the accessibility standards. But things you don't think about, like color contrast ratios, color size of text, space around text, stuff like that. And I've had a few people here who have told me, like, "Oh yeah, I want to buy one of your paper dolls, but here's my situation." And it's like,
Interesting.
okay,
Yeah.
well, I can just make you a high contrast version, or switch around some colors so they're easier for you to see.
Yeah.
Um, and I made like little one-offs like that. I don't put those on the portfolio because it's just like a slightly different version of something you're already looking
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I've made edits like that for people, no problem. Like if somebody wants to play this game, I don't want to be an impediment. And if they want to play this game and have some style,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want I don't want that to be an impediment either. If I can have anything to say about it,
Yeah. I
you know.
like it.
Yeah, I saw when I was at an accessibility conference, a kid he had severe MS, and he had a controller that he was only able to operate with one hand, and it was like a wheel and like four buttons. This was interesting because he was rating in WoW with the thing.
Yeah.
And just seeing that like what's possible with assistive devices and
Have
stuff is amazing.
Have you seen the? There's a dude that plays Call of Duty, and he like
Oh,
blows.
okay.
He like blows into like I don't know if it's a straw or what, but he's literally just kind of maybe he's like there's some pressure points with his mouth that he'll like hit, and I don't know. Look it up, dude. It is
Yeah.
really interesting, um, really interesting how he does that. And then we were talking a little bit about AI. This isn't necessarily AI, but like Neuralink. Have you
Mhm.
heard and how that guy is just the first game I think he played was Civilization, right? But then he also now it's like it's first person shooters are about to get crazy, in the next 10, 20, 30 years or whatever when things like Neuralink are um, start getting mainstream. I don't know what that time is. It could be 5 years, right? The way things are moving. But
Yeah.
it's like you just this guy is now looking on the screen where he wants to shoot, and pulling the trigger with his mind, and it's like, dude, that's crazy. Like that's
Yeah.
such a huge advantage. I'm not upset by any means about it, but it's like, imagine where first person shooter games are gonna go when all that, you know, and this guy's a paraplegic, I think is the right term, where you can't, nothing neck
Yeah.
down. That's paraplegic. Yeah, and yeah, it's
Quadra if it's everything.
okay. All right. So either way, I mean, that's him.
Yeah.
He's just Neuralinking it up, and he's just dominating in Call of Duty, dude.
It's insane. It's
Yeah,
insane. And you're so right. The way things that are going to change, as fast as they're changing right now, it just accelerates.
yeah,
And it's amazing what the gaming world is going to have coming out for it in the next 5 or 10 years.
yeah,
Um, thinking about the Neuralink thing, the potential for that, that's frankly horrifying, but
yeah, 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 yeah.
but it's so cool that you can do that stuff.
I It's
It's just
horrifying, but I'm also excited, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
mm,
I bet, internet, it was the same thing. This is different scale, I guess. But I mean, internet, people were terrified. They still are. You know what I mean? It's like there's so
yeah.
much, but even like deep fake videos are crazy. You look at like, so there's the video of Will Smith eating spaghetti that was real
Mhm.
crazy, right? And he's like slurping it up, and he's like, you could tell it was
Yeah.
AI'd out and crazy. But now there's one that they redid with Will Smith eating spaghetti, and it's just so crazy. Wu Tang. You like Wu Tang? Everybody likes Wu
Mhm.
Tang.
Yeah.
They just released a video. I can't think of what it's called, but it's such a good video, and it is such a good song too. I've listened to it like every day. My mind's blanking on what it is. But anyways, the music video. I literally watched that thing 5 times before I realized it was AI. The whole video is done in
Really, the
AI.
whole video
Yes,
is.
the whole video. It's this like, buff black dude that's walking through, and he's just real tough, and he's like here to speak to Master Cho, and
Mhm.
I mean literally the whole thing. And then at the bottom it said like, this video powered by Neo 3.0. I think it was Neo 3.0. I don't remember, but and I was like, wait, hold on. And I clicked the thing, and I Googled Neo 3.0, if it was Neo, I don't remember. But anyways, and I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, shit, that was AI. And then I watched it again. I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, this makes sense. I can see, because you can always, see the differences.
Mhm.
Right now we can. But it wasn't just 3, 4 years ago that it was so blatantly obvious. And now that story I just told you, not quite as obvious. Three,
Yeah.
four, 5 years from now, bro, you could have done this whole interview with AI. You know what I mean? Like, hey, I don't
Mhm.
want to do this, but I told him I would. Here, go in there and take care of that for me. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
hey,
that I just think that there's just so much that's so cool, and we're still playing a 25-year-old wizard game where you can't even jump.
yeah, 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 you're not wrong. You're not wrong, man. You're not wrong. Hopefully they use AI to make some good games,
Oh,
like good
yeah. Dude,
games, because they suck
it's
lately.
insane. No, there is a business idea that I had, about 6 months ago
Yeah,
that, I ended up abandoning, but to build out the application now, I could do this by hand and a couple months, build out a pretty robust application ready to go. Um, or I can do it with AI in 2 days. And I went to a site and I just described what I wanted, and it built the entire thing for me, and the next 2 days was, like, fine tuning, and then everything worked, and then I looked at the code and tore it apart and rewrote it myself, you know,
sure.
but the fact that you can do that, the fact that, like, you've got you've got kids launching websites
Yeah.
with applications, and being able to, I mean, you got a college kid with an idea in a weekend, and he's
Yeah.
got something he can maybe turn into a
Well,
business. It's insane.
Well, that, and I think there already is one, but and if there isn't, there should be. But I'm sure that there will be degrees of, rather than, I went to school for computer science, I went to school to become a prompt engineer,
Yep.
right? And it's going to be, making more LLMs. Am I saying that right? LLM, right? That's the right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
large language model. Yeah.
There we go. Yeah. It's I made those, and I've just I went to school to figure out what to tell it to do and how to tell it to do and be the most effective prompt engineer I can be, versus learning. I mean, I when it was first kind of a thing, I can remember. So I went to I took a Udemy class over Python,
Hmm.
and or a couple of them, and I learned how to do some Python. Now I'm not somebody that can do like crazy. Facebook was written in Python, right? And I'm not like some crazy good, this guy
Right.
knows
Right.
code, right?
Yeah.
But I can dabble, right? And so I had a friend who went to school for C sharp, right? And he's very successful, works for a corporate biz, all that. He does all that stuff. And he is a stubborn friend of mine, and he hated that this was all going on, and he said it was stupid, it was a fad, it would phase out. Well,
Hmm.
one night I was like, look, I don't know that language at all, and I barely know this one, but I bet let's come up with something, and I'll use ChatGPT to give me the right code, and I can do it faster than you. Bullshit. Well, guess what? Who do you think won in that scenario?
Oh
I
yeah.
did. I
Yeah.
did.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, yeah, that's where it's going. And I just think that people that will adapt to that and understand that and use that to their advantage versus that's stupid. I don't want to use that. We're gonna lose our jobs because of it, which is a thing. I'm not gonna lie and say it's not,
Mhm.
but they're gonna be the ones that come out on top and
Yeah.
you know,
Well, dude, it's a valid concern. It's something I'm dealing with right now, being between jobs. It's something that, I mean, Microsoft just laid off so many people. I don't know
yeah,
the exact number. I know it's in the thousands because of Copilot. Because
yeah,
Copilot's so good, and Copilot can do most of what they do. And you're absolutely right. The jobs are turning into, we want people who can use the tools instead of the people who can build them.
yeah,
And like the people like me, or like Brozan was talking about, he's in software engineering too. um like for people like us, we we need to learn to use the tools more than we need to learn to build. I mean, yeah, you're going to have old timers like us who are like, oh, we got to have someone around who can program the damn thing. But for the most part,
yeah,
the kids in college today, they're going to learn prompt engineering. They're going to learn enough programming so that they understand how things work. Um, but like, those commercials you see late at night for like, today's hot new job in web design, those days are long gone.
yeah.
But the cool thing is, but you've got these things like bolts.new is a free site that you can just tell it what to do and it'll make you an application. Um, I set up the one that I was the one I was telling you about, the business idea one, in no time on that. Which means that you could sit down and just be like, you know what, today, business day. So you go to you either have an idea or you don't. Maybe you just have a name. You go to there's a site, it's like random project generator, I think it's called, and you type in there, you're just like I want to start a business called the Pwncast, and it'll generate a user persona for you. Use that persona to get an idea for how this person would want that problem solved. You take those, you go over to ChatGPT, and you're like, yeah, how would this person solve that problem?
Yeah,
It tells you and gives you a lot of ideas, and you ask it for ideas for maybe a half hour.
yeah,
And then you go over to bolt.new and it's like, oh, well, everybody wants beer to go with the Pwncast. So how about we do Outlands themed subscription beer bundles? And it's like, okay, I want to do that. So bolt.new, here's what I want. Boom. Okay, I'm going to build you everything that you need. And it's wild.
I
It's
would
wild
love
that
to
somebody
do.
can do all this in a weekend.
Yeah. Yeah, now you got my ideas cooking, right? We're gonna
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
we're gonna phone cast beer being mailed out. Um,
Maybe
what?
I'll do that for a stream. I'll like go
You
through all
should.
those tools and just make something. That would be fun.
Yeah, make it like Outland specific, like
Mhm.
this will help you, I don't know, come up with a cool outfit based off of
Yeah.
colors. It reads fashion drip Discord. I don't know. I'm just coming up. But what
Yeah, and you could do stuff like that. That's not even well, it is complicated, but it's not like
sure.
it's not beyond the realm of the possible by any means.
Once you learn it, you learn it. What I'm hopeful that we were talking about it a little bit, but I'm hopeful that some companies or people will adapt using this for games,
Mhm.
but I also am kind of a little bit concerned about that too, because I mean obviously that's going to be like, oh well, largely successful games um, that generate a lot of money are coming from cash shops, right? And,
Yeah.
and like things like that. And so it might just try to like go directly into that. And it's, people will end up, taking that and saying, oh, okay, cash shop, great, good. But okay, let's get rid of that part. But I'm just saying that I hope that,
Mhm.
it'll come up with some really cool games that we can play. But I mean, what are some games that you're excited about that may be coming up, or whatever?
Oh, well, it's the Steam sale right now, so I wanna go buy half of it.
Yeah, that's how it
Um,
goes. Yeah.
but the one that I'm really looking forward to see, I always like the Heroes of Might and Magic games, um,
Yeah.
from a long time ago, and they have the turn-based resource
Uh
collector,
huh.
all that.
Yeah.
Um, and I'm part of the, alpha playtest for the newest one, Heroes of Might and Magic: Olden Era, and it looks gorgeous. It's fun to play. Now it's the playtest, so it's like, here's a mechanic, everybody test it this weekend. So it's not like I'm playing the game like, front to back or anything. But from what I've seen so far, it looks incredible. It beats the crap out of 6 and 7 and all the other ones.
There's a lot now,
Um,
right?
yeah, the remake 3 has a lot is pretty good. 3 was
Yeah.
a good one. But yeah, so I'm really psyched about that. I really want to shop the Steam summer sale and buy all the things. I have a habit of buying games and not playing them because I'm playing Outlands.
Yeah. Yeah. I am very much an MMORPG person. Outlands
Mhm.
more so than others. I've been playing a lot of EverQuest lately, you know that. But
Yeah.
I do. It's like my PlayStation. I mean, it's basically it just sits there now. I don't play it.
Yep.
Every once in a while I'll get a game and I'll play it, but it's definitely just kind of sits there. I in October or September, I don't know, there's an announcement on my Discord, but I took a kind of a break where I was like, look, I'm not going to be making any videos. I'll still pump the shorts out every day and I'll still Whiskey Saturday it, but I'm kind
Mhm.
of taking a step back. I played some games during that time, but that was the first time in years, man, that I had been playing games outside of an MMORPG. I just
Yeah.
I just took a quick break for it. But dude, yeah, MMOs really are what hold me down. Outlands, more specifically
Mhm.
than anything. So I feel you there. Um, and speaking of
Yeah, man.
Outlands, go ahead. No.
No, I was just I it's funny to reflect on the fact of all these new games that have all these new technologies and all this cool things and light
Yeah.
blooms and RTX and everything, and we still go back.
Yeah. We still
It's
play
so
this
fun. That
silly 30 year
and
old wizard game.
And you know what? I also tend to think of it as, and this is one of the things that I really appreciate about Outlands, and I think they've demonstrated beautifully, is that Ultima Online is a game development platform.
Yeah.
It's and what we knew before with Britannia and Scarborough and all that stuff was just the first game built on that platform. But when you learn about some of the internals, like you learn about how all the art works, and you learn about how to build things, how the gumps work, everything. You realize that this is really like we could take all the wizards out and replace them with spaceships if we wanted to, and they would be skimming along the ground like ground speeders.
Yeah.
But we could,
That'd be
and we could
really cool.
replace this. We could replace the stone with like fucked up, like ripped up concrete, and do like a Fallout sort of thing. I mean, the UO
Interesting.
engine, it doesn't make it super easy, but the
Yeah.
possibilities. And I've thought about, like, I've talked to people before. They're like, "Oh, let's start a private server." To which my answer is always, "That's a lot of work."
Yeah.
But one thing I've thought is like that would be cool to try sometime. And
It would
I'm
be
not
cool
going
to
to be
see an
able to try.
Outland space. It would, or an Ultima Online space. Like, well, there for a while, I don't know where Mudchow, he really cool guy, but he was going to do
Yeah.
sea hats, and it was going to be like Luffy, One Piece, and all that. Very
Mhm.
inspired through that. And it was looking really cool, but he I chatted with him a little bit here a while ago because I was like, hey man, what happened to this? And he's like, man, I found out that as I was meeting people to kind of help with this project, that their vision wasn't the same as mine, and they were just like, well, I'm going to go do my own thing. And so a lot of
Yeah.
people wanted to make money, and that wasn't ever really my goal. And because of that, they decided they would just go do their own thing. And he was like,
Yeah.
I'm having trouble keeping people on board with the project, versus what it was. And it was unfortunate because, look, I'm not. I've already. It is what it is. I hope that a server comes around and like dethrones Outlands, but I also, the reality of it is Outlands has like almost 7 years worth of development and quality of life,
Yep.
and a very good system and very good people. I think it's one of those things, and I could be wrong. This is just my opinion. And again, I hope that somebody does this. But I think the only way that Outlands will ever be dethroned is if something internal happens. Owen and
Mhm.
Luthien get into an argument and hate each other, right? I mean, that's
Yeah.
like that. Do I hope that something comes along? I really do, because that means that there's another server that I'm going to enjoy more than Outlands, and I'm all for
Yeah.
enjoying something more than I'm currently enjoying this, which is
Oh yeah. I mean, by
funny.
definition, if they dethrone Outlands, it's gonna be better, probably.
Yes, which
But
is mind blowing to me how people think differently. That like so many people will turn this into an if a thus us versus them thing,
Mhm.
and like when Sagas came out, man, I got every night I had like 5 6 people jump in my stream saying like, why are you playing this shitty server still? Why aren't you over here? And the same thing happened with Unchained. Why are you playing this
Mhm.
shitty server still? Why are you like that? Like
Yeah.
like why does it matter what server I'm playing? And I'm really glad you're enjoying that server. And guess what? Now those people aren't in my channel doing that anymore. Whatever, that's going a different
Yeah.
path. But it's always funny to me that they make Ultima Online servers so much like a football team. Of
Mhm.
like, you're if you don't like this, then you're wrong. It's like
Yeah.
you're dumb.
Oh yeah, that's there's you just described Reddit.
Yeah, it is a Reddit. Yeah, you know what? That's it. I think that's what it is. They must be really well. That's the Ultima Online Reddit too. That is.
Yeah. Yeah, and I keep up with that too, and I see the new servers and stuff, but I mean, I don't know, I know so many people who have tried the different servers and came back because they're like, "We're spoiled, and I wanna stay spoiled."
Yep. Yeah, yeah. I like the
And there's
shelf.
of course, there's things everybody wants different,
Yeah.
but you know what? It's still pretty damn good.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'd love to see NPCs that don't see through walls so I could steal better, and I'd like to and I'm sure all of us would love to the ability to jump,
Yeah.
but, but going beyond that, yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
what's one thing that you would, let's say Owen's like, "Hey, man, Kilgore,"
mhm,
and you kind of talked about it a little bit with the object delay, I guess. But I mean,
yeah.
what's one thing? Is that it that they would have to do if he gave you the
Um,
keys to the kingdom for a day?
yeah, that's a really tough question. That wouldn't be what I would do. That would be cool, but that would like I don't know. See, there's not a lot of stuff in Outlands that I'm like, oh, this has to change because
Yep.
like I'm not I'm not on the sea, so I'm not a part of that entire world
Yeah. Yeah.
where they're actively working on that stuff. Um, I don't I PVM, but not that much. Um, yeah, sometimes. But I guess if I had to ask for anything, okay, I know what it would be. I would ask for more stuff like Bomberman in the arena and stuff. I would and jousting. I think it's awesome that we have that stuff, and I'd love to see more of it.
Capture the
Um,
flag, dude. I know it's
Capture the
overdone,
flag would be
but
cool.
that's just a staple, dude. Like the reason it's overdone is because it's fucking fun.
Mhm. Yeah, capture the flag's awesome. That would be a really good one. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that there's potential for,
Yeah,
and I'm sure they have plenty more like just for fun things in the pipeline,
yeah,
or ideas they've been throwing around and stuff that it's just like this is good, but we have really important shit that we have to get done first.
yeah. Well, I
So I
think
get
like
that.
the elite PvP island or whatever that they were talking about. I don't really remember what it was about, but I remember that was something that they were talking about that's in the pipeline. But I also think they said, well, it's just an idea. Like, we don't
Yeah,
really, so who knows? But
yeah.
okay.
I would probably say the official Outlands Scotch. I would like to see that. Or well,
Ooh,
we're based out of America, so whiskey,
I'm
like
into
bourbon maybe
yeah,
or something.
whiskey, bourbon, scotch. Pick one. I'm there, man. Let's go.
Yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
Maybe
Maybe.
a special bottle, like a special bottle with like the flavor of brine, like Talisker 10 has like that little hint of brine in it, something
Yeah,
like that, and it
yeah.
could be like from the docks of Shelter. We have Shelter Dock Scotch, or
And
I don't know,
maybe they'll
but
have us be
it
in
would be
charge
cool to
of
do a
that too.
themed thing.
They'll make us in charge of that too. So we're gonna have to like
Yep.
fly to like the Isle of Islay and get samples and be like,
Hmm.
this is the one, and then
I'm
you
here
can
for
come
it.
up with the label, right? You can come up with the
Yep.
label. That'd be good. See, Owen, let's go, man. Come on.
Um, Actually, funny thing, I had a character named Lagavulin on UOR
Okay. Yeah,
because
that's a
I
good
couldn't figure
PD.
out what to name it. And I had Lagavulin right next to me. I was like, yeah, that'll do.
I like it. I'm into it.
And I
I've
mean, I
uh
even have a character here named Talisker Storm.
I've done that. I've seen him. Yeah, I've done that with character names. Like you just start looking around and stuff. And
Mhm.
I named an enchanter in EverQuest Nyquil.
Nice.
I was like, that works out. You know what I mean? So, but all right. So I ask this to every single person.
Uh-huh.
You know, when they're on here, who should be the next guest on the Pwncast?
I've been really looking forward to seeing Chopper on here.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
I I don't want to say it's an easy answer because I know other people say that too. But no, I mean, I was on S Chopper back in the day.
uh huh,
Like I that site I went to more often than probably my email.
yeah.
Um, and I loved that shit. So, and plus, maybe a year or two ago, I sold him some Pref coins or something. And like a couple of days later, I was like, "Hey, I got more coins," and he sends me a picture of him holding a beer, and he's like, "Oh, kind of occupied at the moment." And I said, "Oh, no problem. What are you drinking?" And we ended up talking for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he's just like a super cool guy.
Yes, yeah. He's jumped on
So,
here on streams back when I used to do shots with the viewers, which I
mhm.
rarely do anymore because I got scared someone was going to show their wiener. But yeah, he would jump on and take some shots every here and there. And I can remember the very first time he was in my stream chat. I was like, Ash Chopper. And I was like, is this the Ash Chopper like from back in the day? And he was like, it is. And then I was like, oh my God. And I can remember getting done with the stream and calling Beltane and being like, dude, you're never gonna guess who was in my stream. And I just thought that was like the coolest thing ever. And then fast forward later, and he continued to be on the stream here and there. And I took a shot with him, and I was just like, "Oh my God, I am having a shot with that chopper!" Like, this is,
Mhm.
it was cool. So I would agree. We had scheduled about 2 weeks ago when my computer fried, and I was like, dude, I'm sorry, my computer's messed up, we're gonna have to postpone. And then we're working that out. Yeah, he'll be on, he'll be probably episode 29, so I'm excited for that. But yeah.
Nice. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Oh no, I was just gonna say, I still remember like pages and pages and pages of exploits and tricks and
Yeah.
little hacks and stuff. I mean, like God, I would comb through that stuff because I wasn't in the private area.
Yeah.
So I would comb through that stuff to find like the couple of little nuggets that slipped through that somebody posted publicly.
Yeah. Yeah, that you would try and hope that it hadn't been fixed yet, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, I would try all kinds. Man, I would have cheated and got banned 100 times back then. Like
Mm.
I would have easily. I tried. Lord knows I tried, and I'm trying to think if I ever actually found anything that worked. I don't really think I did. Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't find anything.
Yeah.
I don't think I found anything major,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
good enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember back then reading that and just like, oh yeah, we just posted our new dupe, and it's like,
Yeah. I would have loved to do
and
that
yeah,
back then.
but unfortunately,
Yeah.
oh yeah, obviously back
Yeah.
then.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
back then when you were like one eBay sale away from being out of the game, I sold my old account from Atlantic for like $1,000, like 2 houses and one and a full account.
yeah, my father sold a singing crystal ball for $250. It was just like this little crystal ball that you would
Yeah,
walk by and it would make a random sound from the game. He sold his account for like $700, and I think I sold mine for like 200 or something. It wasn't much.
yeah.
And then of course there was EverQuest, and we made a lot of money in EverQuest. Yeah, good times. But
Yeah, the only time I ever got a bad eBay review was from back then because I bought like for like $4, I bought a backpack full of fishing nets and then forgot about it. So we never finished the transaction. I just bid it on it, won it, and then forgot.
oh, that's funny.
So for years, I had this one mark on my account of this guy being like, "Oh yeah, never showed up, never paid. Fuck that guy."
Yeah, yeah. Good old eBay. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you taking time out of your 4th of July, holiday. Happy 4th. Hope you got some good stuff
Thank
planned.
you very much. Happy
Go see some
4th.
fireworks. But I appreciate you taking time out of it, sharing with us a little bit about yourself. Your what you've been up to. It's really interesting, man. Like I said, I've really enjoyed watching your streams. I think I know it's making me better at image creation and things like that. So I really appreciate that, and you're a cool dude, man. So we've
Oh,
had
thank
some
you.
fun together over the past, I don't know, what, 2-3 months, something like that. We've been hanging
Yeah,
out. So
about
yeah,
that.
yeah. Well, cool.
About that.
Well,
Well, thank you so much for having me. This has been great, and again, thank you for all the support that you've given me.
yeah.
With my various endeavors. It has been a huge help and means a lot. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I appreciate you, man. Everybody else, thanks for watching episode 28. Pwnstarr Gaming out.